Good afternoon, students. I would like to welcome you at Success at CA exam organized by Board of Studies ICAI for CA Intermediate Course, Paper 3, Taxation, Section A, Income Tax Law. I am CA Dimple Goyal, and along with me,
I am Parna Chauhan.
We both are your direct tax faculties and as well as your gurus for today's session. In today's session, we are taking the queries which will you ask regarding the taxation. What is the strategy you have to write in the examination? What are the basic mistakes which the student makes in the examination or basic query they ask related to this paper? Along with that, we will also guide you how to complete your paper within the time. What is the strategy? How to read? Where to read? What to read? And how to memorize, or what are the common mistakes which you can avoid during the examination? So, because taxation, income tax is a very dynamic subject because it keeps on changing every year by passing of the Finance Act. So, it's very necessary you to understand what is the relevant finance act for your paper. This session is for May 2024 examination as well as for November 2024 examination, because same Finance Act will be applicable for May 24 and November 24 examination. Only the difference will be the cutoff date of your 6 month. It means your notification and circular, which is issued up to 31st October 2023, that is relevant for May 2024 examination. While for November 2024 examination, the cutoff date is 30th April. It means the notification and circular which are issued up to 30th April 2024, that would be relevant for November 24 examination. Regarding the Finance Act, for May 2024 and November 2024 examination, the income tax provision as amended by the Finance Act 2023 is applicable for May and November 2024 examination. So what will be the relevant assessment year for you guys? It will be assessment year 2024 and 25. It means your previous year would be 2023 and 24. And as I already told you, the notification and circular which is issued till 31st October 2023, that would be relevant for May 2024 examination.
So students, I think as you all must be aware of what is assessment year and the previous year. At this stage, this is the time for revision actually. So we are assuming that you have already studied your paper, and accordingly we have here to clarify certain doubts which we have frequently received from the students. We are going to clarify those doubts. So I think let's make this session more interactive. We would like to ask you certain queries also before proceeding to our technical things. Like for example, here the relevant assessment is AY 24-25, you are aware of. So how many of you have done the whole study till date? As of now, we have joined Preeti Verma with us, Kritika Tiwari, Ankita, or Kritika Tiwari is raised ke ma'am share the link with us. I think link has already been shared with you, and hope so that more students are going to join us soon. So let's wait for some time. I think let them join. Then we will proceed to the basic concept. Before that, we will tell you what are the relevant assessment year, what are the cutoff dates, and what is the from where to study. What are the relevant publication of the BoS? We are going. You have to study those. So Dimple, you proceed with the relevant study material and all. Before,
Kritika, before you get the link, you can ask me a query if you have through the BoS mobile app, and when the link is shared with you, you can just log into the Zoom as well.
Yeah.
And regarding the one of the most important thing regarding the date sheet, because yesterday in the evening, device date sheet has been announced. So I advise all of you to just have a look in the device date, because this taxation paper has been postponed by 2 days. So please kindly keep it in mind, because device date sheet has been announced yesterday evening.
So you are not going to get any additional time. You have that limited portion of time, and within that portion you have to
don't
study.
think that you got extra 2 days, so you will just linger on ki we have extra 3 or 4 days. Don't do that, because your syllabus is too much, because you have to study income tax as well as GST for this paper. So don't think about it's postponed, so we have some much more time. So don't think about that. Regarding the publication, your study material, June 2023 edition of your study material, which is already hosted on the website also, is relevant for May 24 and November 2024 examination. This study material, in this study material, the notification and circular, which is issued up to 30th April 2023, that is covered there along with your amendment by way of Finance Act 23. For the remaining 6-month amendments, you have to refer statutory update for May 2024 examination. In that statutory update, what are the significance, notification and circular that is issued from 1st May 2023 to 31st October 2023, we have covered in there.
Yes.
After that, after when you just go through your study material, read the concept, everything, your stat update, you have done your illustration, questions, everything, then you just refer the revision test paper, your RTP, that is for May 2024 examination. Because I advise you, don't refer RTP at initial stage first, because we are in March and your examination is in May. So I hope you have already done your first round of study. But before that also, try to solve each and every illustration, your test your knowledge questions, your MCQ, which are hosted on the knowledge portal and BoS mobile app. After that only, you just go to the RTP. Don't, because RTP that contains the very good questions or it will test you, your understanding, ki how much concept is clear to you and how much you have done your study. So don't refer RTP before completing your study. Refer only after completing your study and concept everything.
Yeah, the study material is also very good. Actually, the new feature being added to in the study material, the crossword puzzle is being added. The case scenarios before the sections are being given. So these case scenarios are really, really very good. So those, when you have completed one section, then you come to that case scenario, try to answer those case scenarios yourself actually. Right, like crossword puzzles also to engage in you some gamification like things. So these are very interesting. Hope you that you all have done those crossword puzzles and the case scenarios which is given the study material. These are the new features we have recently added in the new scheme published by the study material. So what we are saying here actually, the RTP is something which you can only solve when you have done your whole study. Otherwise you will find it very difficult to do that, because it is a combination of all the provisions, whatever been your syllabus is there, everything is being dealt related to those, whole of the syllabus is being dealt in the RTP. So before proceeding the RTP, you have to complete your study from the study material. In the study material, many illustrations are there, many test your knowledge questions are there, let us recapitulate is there, everything is presented in tabular form to make it you to understand easily. So do your study from the study material, practice the questions given in the study material, and then come to the RTP, right? And then you proceed with the MTP. Right, MTP is that stage. Yeah, that time you are going to assess your preparedness for the examination. So you have to do the MTP in an examination condition also. We advise to do the MTP in an examination condition. First of all, in the study material, one thing I would like to tell them, ki what happens now, we have noticed that certain students says ki we have done a study material. In what way they do? They just read the questions and the answers without writing them actually. So main problem is that when they face the examination, they were not able to present their answer in the manner it has to be given. They are not following up the requirement of the questions. First of all, to practice those questions, you have to write and solve yourself.
Because two things are there. First, when you read the question, you just know, see the solution and you, I am aware of that. This treatment has to be done like this. But when you try to solve that question by your hand, so many provisions, sometimes you skip the provisions or you done mistake. You just forget the dates, HEC, rebates, everything. But when you see the solution, you see, I know that very well. So it will be okay. First thing problem is that. And the second one, by writing, you just able to just paste your writing skills also, because in the examination you have to write only. So at that point of time, many students complain that we are not able to complete the paper within 3 hours because they have not done the practice of writing. So it's very necessary to solve the question by your own and in the writing form, not by just seeing or visualizing ki, yeah, I have known this provision, I have just done this illustration or test your knowledge question. Do each and every illustration and test your knowledge question by your own in the writing form.
And then compare the answers given in there. And then you will identify where you're lacking. Actually, then you can go again to the provision, understand it, then you will come to know. And whenever you are doing that exercise, it will keep in your mind also. At the time of examination, if certain similar kind of problem comes into, then that point it will click. Yeah, that I have done that mistake. You are not going to repeat that same mistake again, right? Definitely. So you do that in that manner, right? This is about the study material, that how you are going to proceed with the study material. Ankita is asking that, ma'am, in section 35 AD, there are so many dates. Is it necessary to learn all these dates? Yes, you have to. You have to aware of from that whether it will be classified as a specified business or not. That date is written from that angle also. That specified business is eligible for deduction or not. That date is very important. So you have to definitely remember certain things. You have to memorize and remember also. Of course, this is not a theoretical paper. You cannot say it's a completely theoretical. It's wholly application oriented paper. You have to understand. This is very interesting also. It makes it very interesting. It's very practical paper actually. You can link, if you go and read the case scenarios given in your study material, there we are linking with the practical things, that how you are going to apply this income tax provision, the practical scenarios. So this is very interesting paper. For that, you need a proper and full understanding of the provision. Understanding will not suffice here. You should know that how to apply those provision in the practical scenarios, right? For that purpose, you have to practice a lot, right? This is the way. So certain things, TDS rates, certain provisions also you have to memorize those things. Those dates also you have to memorize. Nikhil is asking, ma'am, is it necessary to write section? This is a very good question. Yeah, Dimple, you answer that question.
Sections के लिए, Nikhil, it is not necessary to code the section if you are not so sure of it. But regarding the TDS section or deductions under chapter 6A, because they are specific section and deductions are related to particular sections only. So, like suppose in case of LIC, in case of PPF, you just know the section is in under section 80C. So it's necessary to quote 80C there. Similarly, in TDS also, it will be better if you know the TDS provision, because they are 192, 193, 194. Every section deals with the different types of income. So if in the question it comes ki salary, the employer is paying salary to its employee, so you must know that section TDS is to be deducted under section 192, not in 193 or 194 or else. So for these kind of section, it is important to memorize it, but don't quote in the paper if you are not so sure of. So don't quote wrong section, because when you are writing the section, it may not give you more marks, but quoting the wrong section will definitely give a negative, lose your marks. So don't quote wrong section.
Actually, when you are writing correct section, it gives a good impression in the mind of the examiner also. So it will add value to your answers. But certain things now which are very essential, that you should read the provisions by relating it to the section. TDS is not possible to learn actually. To understand the TDS provision, you have to learn the sections. Otherwise, how are you going to remember that what is the provision for deducting the TDS under salary? What is the provision for deducting under interest? So those things now you will be able to learn and memorize only when you are reading it along with the section. So make it show chapter 6A deduction. You should learn TDS. You should learn and remember the sections, right? Because it will make you, understand the provision also. You will get a hold of the provisions when you are reading it along with the section. So try to remember, but don't put a subsection. Don't do it. Many subsections are like section 36. There are many subsections. Avoid. If you are not able to remember, then it is fine. But certain things, TDS provisions, of course, you have to read along with the sections actually. It is difficult, but you have to do. That you can do only by study actually.
And you can, the provisions TDS, suppose in 192, I'm just giving an example, try to make your notes by your own. Because what will happen in that, you just remember that like in 120, section 192, firstly you have to see who is the payer, in case, who is the deductor, in whose case, who has to deduct the TDS. So you have to mention the deductor. Who will be the deductor? Your employer. Who will be the deductee? It means when you are making the payment to whom, then TDS provision will get attracted when the employer is making payment to employee. Then next you can mention threshold limit. What is the threshold limit? Here the threshold limit is your basic exemption limit. What is the rate? Here the rate is average rate of tax. So accordingly, try to make your notes by your own. And that provision, whatever the provision is there, whatever the concept is there, try to break the provisions or the concept in small things, so that it would be easy for you to understand. Like in section 87A, suppose I'm saying regarding rebate under section 87A, first condition is that rebate is available to a resident only. So first condition you just mentioned, that is available to resident only. Second, resident, but it should be a individual only. It means rebate under section 87 is not available to HUF, to AOP or to BY. To whom to HUF, AOP, BY, slab rate also there, but rebate under section 87A is not available to other assessee other than individual and to resident only. Then you have to mention the threshold limit. What are the threshold limits? Ki up to that total income, if the assessee has total income up to that limit, then only rebate will be available. So you have to make your notes by own. If you read the provision, na, you will see it's very monotonous, but you have to break the provision into points so that it will be easier for you to remember ki what are the precondition or what are the limits, what are the rates, and what are the everything. So that in that way, it will be easy for you to remember the provisions.
Yeah, even though we have provided so many, revisionary things, actually, summary, let us recapitulate is given in every chapter. We have issued the capsules also, everything. But still now, we advise us to try to make your own notes. To remember the provisions, to have a good hold over the provisions, you make your own notes, right? So this is the strategy you have to adapt, actually. Kiran Shukla, you are not able to join meeting. Actually, many students have already joined the meeting. So please again try it, check your internet and all, because many students have already joined in the meeting. Can I write provision in my own words? Own words, you can write actually. The provision, you have to see the significance of the provisions. That implication of the provision has to come, right? For example, if there is a disallowance of cash payments, so 10,000 is the limit. When you are making the payment exceeding 10,000, disallowance will be attracted. So in that you have to come in your answer if that relate to that provision, right? Own words, I don't know. What's your opinion regarding it?
Regarding the own words, the main things, what are the main conditions? What are the main things like limit, threshold limit? What are the conditions that, like in 10,000, if the payment is made by a prescribed mode, account pay check, account pay draft? So all these things, what are the major things that you need to be mentioned? Apart from that, your language, the English language, we can use your own. It's not necessary you have to write as it is in the section or as it is in the study material. It's not necessary. But the main key points that you have to mention in your answer.
That should come in the answer.
We have 2 students have raised their hands.
Yeah. Priyanshu Kalra, can ask your query. Priyanshu, you can unmute yourself and ask your query.
गुड आफ्टरनून मैम.
गुड आफ्टरनून प्रियांशु.
मैम मैंने ये पूछना था कि जो आईसीआई के क्वेश्चंस हैं डायरेक्ट टैक्स और इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स, वो इनफ है अगर आईसीआई का ही कर जाए, क्योंकि अलग फिर बहुत ज्यादा वास्ट हो जाएगा, पहले ही बहुत मुश्किल है.
प्रियांशु देखो, कभी भी कोई भी चीज ना, देयर कैन बी इनफ फॉर एनीथिंग, because in the study material we are teaching you the provision, not the questions or illustration. We are just giving you the illustration to understand the provision. So if you understand the provision, you can attempt any question or illustration. So we are focusing on कि you just try to understand the provision, not go by कि itne question are sufficient, or if I do 100 questions then it would be sufficient for me or not. Because in the exam, different type of adjustment can be there which you have not read in any of the question or any of the other books also. So it's not about the question, it's about the concept all the time. If you are very much sure of the concept, then the question which is given the study material, that is sufficient. If you want more understanding also, then you can refer the other publications also. But it's not about the question. Quantity doesn't matter, quality matters. How you understand the provision, how much concept is clear to you, that matters, not ki how many questions you have attempted.
Yeah, in any manner, if the question comes, if you have a good understanding that how to apply the provision, how to, apply in the particular situation, then situation can change. So how does it matter if you are practicing from where? If you have practiced all the questions, well and good, because it will give you good hold over the provisions. For that purpose, questions are given to you. Ki how to apply in particular situation. If situation changes, but provision remains the same. So you have to understand the implications of the provision, right? So you have to do. Ankita Sharma, you can unmute yourself and ask a query.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Ankita.
मैम मेरा जो क्वेश्चन है वो प्रेजेंटेशन के रिगार्डिंग है। मैम जब हमारा कोई लॉन्ग क्वेश्चन होता है केस स्टडी बेस्ड, तो मैम हम उसका एक फॉर्मेट बेस पे भी आंसर दे सकते हैं, पर्टिकुलर्स एंड रुपीज। एंड मैम जो हमें कैलकुलेशन करनी है वो हम उसी फॉर्मेट में कर सकते हैं। बट मैम मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि कैलकुलेशन से ही काम नहीं चल सकता, बिकॉज हमें प्रोविजंस भी कोट करने की जरूरत पड़ेगी कि हम किस बेस पे इस फैक्ट को रख रहे हैं। तो मैम जो हमारे प्रोविजन होंगे वो हम उसी फॉर्मेट में प्रेजेंट कर सकते हैं, या फिर उस फॉर्मेट को जैसे हमने क्लोज कर दिया और उसके बाद हम एज अ नोट्स की फॉर्म में उस पॉइंट्स को एक्सप्लेन कर सकते हैं। तो मैम एज एग्जामिनर या फिर चेकर जब भी कोई स्टूडेंट की शीट उनके पास आते हैं, तो वो क्या एक्सपेक्ट करते हैं कि मतलब प्रेजेंटेशन किस फॉर्म में होनी चाहिए? तो मैम बस एक बार ये आप क्लियर कर दीजिए।
अंकिता, रिगार्डिंग दैट, देखिए दोनों वेज आर परफेक्ट, तो दोनों तरीके से आप कर सकते हैं। बट अब अगर मैं प्रेफरेंस की बात करूं, आई वुड एडवाइस की दिस लाइक इन फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज योर डिस्क्रिप्टिव फुल फ्लेज क्वेश्चन in which we have to compute the tax liability or tax payable of an individual. So in that case, you can have the income of all the five heads. So I would advise, because it's a descriptive question, it's basically of 15 marks. So you just at that point of time, any particularly allowances, disallowances, you just mention in the main part, main solution only, rather than the going by notes. But if you don't do that, if you just mention the disallowances or something like that, and the reasoning you gave by way of notes, then also it is okay. But first preference, in my personal, I would advise you just mention it the provisions or allowances in the main solution itself.
Then and there, it will be
हाँ,
easy
it
for
will be
you
easy for
actually.
you.
Otherwise, you have to relate your working notes
Then
with the
working notes की
adjustment.
numbering, हाँ,
Yeah,
numbering
it will
also
be
you have to
difficult.
check कि whether you have given the same notes की numbering or not. Then you have to leave the space also according to that, because you will complete your main part, then you will give your notes. So it's better कि if you give the notes in the main solution itself.
Yeah, if you feel that the calculations are high, for example, SHZ की computation, you are going to compute the deduction, then you can do your working notes down at the end. But if a long full-fledged question, like in first question, as we are saying, it's a compulsory question, try to give brief reasoning to substantiate your this solution, right? Whatever be the you are doing it, then you have to substantiate with a brief reasoning.
Brief reasoning.
Don't go,
And in the main solution
in the
itself.
main solution you can do it. Follow it. Now, Neha, you may unmute yourself and ask a query. Neha, Neha नहीं है. Kiran Bala, you can ask a query.
Hello, good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Neha.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Neha.
मैम डीटी एंड जो डायरेक्ट टैक्स एंड इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स है ना, वो 100 मार्क्स से है क्या ईच?
No. Neha, this paper, taxation paper, is of 100 marks, which is divided into two sections. Section A, income tax law, and section B, your indirect taxes, and goods and services taxes, and both comprises of 50 marks. 50 marks is for income tax law and 50 marks for your GST portion.
Neha, first you tell me when is your attempt?
May, ma'am.
May exam. Now
you are asking this question because in the study
No,
material,
ma'am.
the first page
Actually,
itself.
ये मुझे पता था कि 50-50 मार्क्स का है, बट मैंने कहाँ से तो सुना था, मतलब एवरी टाइम कोई ना कोई बोलता था कि 100 मार्क्स का है। मतलब जो भी अदर क्लासेस है ना प्राइवेट्स के, उन्होंने से भी सुना था मैंने. That's why I'm asking, ma'am.
Neha, you should not go by the others actually. You should go and visit the BoS Institute publication. Institute की website है हमारी. We have a website which is there for the students. BoS portal, knowledge portal is there. Along with that, we have a BoS app also. Please go regularly, frequently visit those things. Don't go by the others.
Don't go by the rumors, because unnecessary. Before 1 month exam, you are asking this query.
Too much actually.
Too much. So
Okay, ma'am.
don't go by the rumors.
Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Thank
Actually,
you.
one thing, statutory update already uploaded on the website. I want to ask you from you people, how many of you downloaded it? Kiran Bala, have you downloaded? I'm going to ask you, name some people and then ask this question. Kiran Bala, have you downloaded the statutory update?
Yes, ma'am.
You done it. Very good. Priya Fofalia?
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon. So basically, my doubt is regarding the MCQ. Cause in the BOS portal we have this MCQ test thing.
Yes.
But while we answer those questions, it is very difficult sometimes to match the answers. We should be very precise in getting the answers because our calculation is not always correct as
That
per this. So, ma'am, actually, I wanted you to draw the attention basically over the answers over there so that we can directly get over it, like the actual answer, because most of the calculations are not given there and we intend to make the major mistake over there, like calculating this thing. And my second doubt was regarding the 15-mark question, which is about the
compute.
computation thing. Ma'am, what is the actual breakup of marks which we get? Like if we are attempting the 15 marks question, we sometimes get 8 marks or 7 marks. So what is the basic criteria over the marks distribution on the 15-mark question?
Just MCQs वाला question का answer let's do. Regarding MCQs, actually now, what is the preference? If you are doing descriptive question, you are saying you are able to attend. Are you able to attempt your descriptive questions which are given in the study material, Priya?
Yes, ma'am. Descriptive is very fine because it is always the provision which we are reading and implementing it.
Similarly,
So
you
we
have
can,
to apply those provisions while doing your MCQs also.
yeah, ma'am. No, ma'am. I mean, like sometimes we tend to make a minor mistake, which we don't collect at the time while we are solving it until we see the solution. But the solutions which we get is not very precise. It is just a one-word answer, which is just the number.
That's why you actually for that now you should go and again see those provisions. On that basis, the MCQs is there, right?
Okay, ma'am.
Dimple, you
Priya,
substantiate.
regarding the MCQs which is hosted on the BoS knowledge portal, you are saying कि you just try to attempt that MCQ, and if you didn't get the answer, because the reasoning is also provided there in MCQs. You are saying a complete reasoning like a descriptive is not there, so you find it difficult to understand right? This is your question, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. In that case, actually, we are not giving the reasoning there because it's a human tendency. Suppose you have done the mistake,
Yes.
and the reasoning is also there. So you will see कि हाँ, this is the reason, and why this is because of this provision, or I have just lacked this provision. I didn't get the right answer. But we have just given the reasoning, very limited reasoning, so that we have just referred the section only. Go back to the section again, read whether you have done what mistake you have done, whether you have done the mistake regarding the threshold limit, regarding the date, regarding the amount, what mistake you have did, then try to solve that MCQ again. If in that case also you are not able to get your answer, we are here in mobile app. There is an option of ask your query. You just give your working, what the solution you have made, so that we can also guide you कि what particular mistake you have done, and you just keep it noted that this kind of mistake you would not repeat in your some other question if it comes in the examination. Because if we
Okay, ma'am.
give the reasoning now, it would not survive the purpose which we are.
Yeah.
One more thing now, you try to discuss with your peer group also. First, I would suggest many students that they should study in groups. So you can discuss this. If you are not getting the answers for particular thing, then you can discuss with your group. If you are not, still you are not able to, then you can ask your query through the mobile app.
But in the mobile app, I just want each and every student, if you are asking any query related to MCQ particularly, I would advise just send your working also, so that we will able to advise you what mistake you have done. Mostly students ask, ma'am, I'm not able to get the answer of this MCQ, so we have to provide them the reasoning. But what is the purpose of that? We are also not aware of what kind of mistakes students are doing.
We will also understand where you are, going wrong actually. Instead of giving the full solution, we will guide you where are the problem areas, right? It would be better if you provide your working also. Yes.
And ma'am, regarding the computation of total tax, can you just tell me the bifurcation of marks?
Priya, actually regarding the bifurcation of marks, if you see what's the main thing is your computation of total income and tax liability or tax payable of an individual. Can you determine the computation tax liability or total income of an SSC without going through all the residential status, heads of income, clubbing, set of deduction?
No, ma'am.
No. So you have to go by the steps only, by the procedure only. First, you have to determine what is the residential status of the SSC. If it requires the question.
Actually, like when we see the question, it is very clear about the residential status and whether the SSC is an individual or HUF. These things are very clear in the paper. But while we do the workings, such as income from salary and all the heads of income, then total income deductions, TDS and everything. So, ma'am, there should be something like heads of income off of this marks. Like
Yes,
if
step
we are
marks are
accurate
there.
about this thing.
Priya, step marks are always there for your this full-fledged question or the other question. Step marking is always
Step
there.
marking is there, but you are just asking in 15 marks question. If I'm not wrong, you are asking in 15 marks question how many is for heads of income, how many is for clubbing or reduction, right?
Every time
No,
depends on the
ma'am, like somewhat there must be step marking, like
Step
in
marking
that.
is there. Definitely step
Yeah,
marking is there, but it can, because computation is the full-fledged thing of every other provision for your residential, heads of income, clubbing, set off, deduction. So there is no bifurcation in the 15 marks ki you will get 8 marks for heads of income, you will get 2 marks for clubbing provision or 3 marks for deduction. But in the examination, definitely there is a step marking. If you have, suppose in the 10 adjustment, you have done the 5 adjustment, then you will get the marks for the 5 adjustment accordingly. But the problem may arise in the MCQs or case scenario based MCQs, where
Yes,
either your
ma'am.
answer will be right or wrong. So you will not get any step marking for that. So
you have to be extra
extra
careful
careful
while
while attempting
attempting.
case scenarios MCQs.
Yes.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
But I think before taking further queries, we should take some guide you regarding the syllabus and some certain doubts, also technical doubts actually relating to the provision itself. We want to take those provisions. Then in between also we are going to take your doubts. Let me check the BoS portal also.
Okay, regarding this, Amrit Pal.
Yeah,
this is the important question which you have asked. We are also about to take this question, because as you all, I am just hoping you all you are aware of that ki, by the Finance Act 23, your section 115 BAC, your concessional tax regime is now your default tax regime. So if nothing is mentioned, suppose, because it's a default regime, tax regime, if the assessee wants to go for the normal provision of the act, he has to opt for that ki he is want to pay tax under the normal provision of the act. If in normal situation, I'm just telling, so your default tax regime is your section under section 115 BAC. So if I'm telling about the first question, your descriptive question, which is a compulsory question of 15 marks, if nothing is mentioned in the question, then you have to compute the tax liability under both the provision, under the default tax regime under section 115 BAC, as well as under the normal provisions of the act. Because you see the marks also, it's a 15 marks question. So you have to advise the assessee whether what is beneficial for him. If nothing is asked in the question, and question is also silent about the regime, then in the descriptive first compulsory question, you have to determine the tax liability according to both the regime. Regarding the earlier other questions, it will be mentioned in the question whether the assessee is opting for the normal provision, or if nothing is mentioned, then the assessee is paying tax under the default tax regime. So you have to be very careful about this. In the study material also, if you see, everywhere it is mentioned whether the assessee is under default tax regime or shift out to the normal provisions. So you have to be very careful about this, and you have to see the marks also. What are the what are the marks it contains? According to that also you have to answer the question.
Yes. Tanish is asking the previous RTP, MTPs are relevant for new syllabus. See, as we already said that income tax always keep on changing with the passing of the Finance Act. So it is advisable not go by the old RTPs or MTPs. If you are doing so, then you have to keep in mind the relevant amendments made by the Finance Act and especially update this notification circulars, all things. So instead of doing it, whatever is the given relevant is the publications which are relevant for the May exams, do those things. Na? First of all, whatever, how much you are doing, the ultimate outcome is that you should have a good understanding of the provisions. So you should do the latest provisions only, right? Avoid doing from the old RTPs and all. But do current RTP, do your current MTPs, right?
Abhishek, for MCQs, no reasoning is required, no negative marks are there for MCQs. You have to just circle your option.
Yeah, क्या है? This is Ratrika Mehta. Step-wise marking you are asking us, actually it is difficult to tell you right now what would be the step marking, because it every time undergo change. It depends on the requirement of question, but of course step marks are allocated to each and every step is given, right? So this we cannot answer right now. Preeti Verma, what are the common mistakes? Yeah, definitely we are going to take those things only in this session. We have planned, like certain doubts are arising based on this new regime 115 BC default tax regime. It is relating to the surcharge, relating to the rebate under section 87A, because these are undergoing different for the normal provisions and the 115 PAC. So certain doubts are arising regarding those things. We want to take those things, right? Then we are going to take your questions, right? So Dimple, I think we can briefly discuss the section-wise weightages also with you. Then we are going to take those doubts.
Yeah, just briefly, because I am just hoping ki you have just gone through the MTP. You have set for the MTP. If you have not set for the MTP, please in the next MTP set for the MTP and try to solve the MTP. Because in the new scheme also many students has doubt ki what will be the question paper pattern. So from that you will have an idea. We have already covered in this session also ki what will be the coverage for the this paper. So your section, the syllabus of your income tax law is divided into 5 sections. Your section 1 comprises of basic concept and residential status. Section 2, heads of income. 3, clubbing, set-off and deductions provision. 4th is your advanced tax, TDS and TCS, and your return filing provisions. 5th is your computation of total income. I'm just giving you the brief idea. I'm not just going in so much detail because we want to take it to the technical section, technical queries also in this. Section wise weightage is already there in the there on the website. First section, this basic concept of residential status. The weightage is given is 10% to 20%. It means 6 to 8 marks question will be there from basic concept and residential status and scope of total income. It can be in the form of MCQ, case scenario based MCQ, or the descriptive portion also. The total marks from these 2 chapters will be of 6 to 8 marks. But that doesn't mean ki, because suppose in the full-fledged question, it is not given ki, whether the assessee is resident or non-resident. You have to compute for to know the tax total income and tax liability. It can be there also, but the main independent question case scenario of these 2 topics will be of 6 to 8 marks.
So independently, you cannot study the things. If you are going to solve the questions of computation of total income and tax liability, you have to go through the earlier provisions, whatever being discussed. For example, basic concepts of previous year definition is there. So that previous year definition is so important that you can be tested in the clubbing provision itself. So that question we are going to discuss, right? So next is section 2, heads of income. So there will be weightage of 14 to 18 marks. Definitely heads of income you can't skip. Basically for income tax at intermediate level, you can't skip anything, because whatever if you skip, that can come in your main descriptive question, your first compulsory question. So it's, we will not advise you to skip anything in the at the intermediate level. Weightage is there for heads of income. You can get a question of 14 to 18 marks. Then clubbing provision, set off deduction 8 to 12 marks. You will get a question of advanced tax, TDS, TCS, and return filing provisions of 8 to 12 marks, and definitely first compulsory question, full-fledged question of your 15 marks, which is a compulsory question. So if you see the pattern of 100 marks paper, 30% your 30 marks will be for case scenario based MCQs plus independent MCQs, and 70 marks is for descriptive question. Because your paper income tax law is of 50 marks, so your 15 marks is for case scenario based MCQ or independent MCQ, and the remaining 35 marks will be of descriptive question. We have already discussed for MCQs and for descriptive question. Only the difference is regarding how you answer the question, because in MCQ you have to just tick the correct option, but while in the descriptive, presentation matters a lot. Okay, how you present your answer, how you wrote the provisions, how you give the reasoning explanation for that. But in the MCQ, all these things are not there. You have to just tick the correct option. But it's a plus point also, it's a minus point also, because in the descriptive you can get a step marks. If any time you get any adjustment you made wrong, you will get the step marks for the other adjustment. But in the MCQ, either you will get the full marks or will the 0 marks. So there is no option of step marking in MCQs. So in MCQs, you have to read all the options very carefully. They can be related, they will seem correct also, right? So very carefully understand what the question is asking, what is being the requirement, accordingly choose the option. Otherwise, you are going, if you have done wrong, choose then the wrong option, then you are going to zero on. So be extra careful while attempting the MCQs portion.
So the regarding the MCQ portion, it will be of 15 marks. It will include your case scenario based MCQs and independent MCQs, and all the MCQs will be compulsory. So there will be no option in the MCQ portion. Regarding the descriptive part, there will be 4 questions. First question will be your compulsory question of 15 marks, which will be on total income and tax liability of an individual. And in that, maybe the question requires to advise what the assessee should do. It should go up for the normal provision of the act or continue with the default tax regime. So you have to advise accordingly to the assessee. If it is not mentioned, you have to compute both, but the advice is not, don't need to mention the advice. But if the question asks to optimize the tax liability, you have to mention your advice, what advice you are giving to the assessee to whether to opt out of the default tax regime or to pay under the default tax regime. Remaining three questions, that will be of 10 marks each, and you have to attempt any 2 questions from that. And there will be one internal choice question also from these 3 questions. So this is your question paper pattern. So if you have any doubt in question paper pattern, we'll just have a minute. Otherwise, we will just continue to the technical part.
Tanish has its first attempt. Will it be completely based on the study material? Tanish, see, it is completely based on your study material. The content discussed in the study material will only going to test you in the examination, right? So, but if you are saying the practical questions, whatever be given, usi wohi hai same, though it's not possible actually. They are going to be different so that they can test ki, what is your understanding level. Then you are going to move to the final exam also, right? So you are going to have to be prepared for that final paper course also, right? Provision of section is important to mention everything. Provision of section mention everything. As it is, you need not to mention the provision itself. See what the question is asking. If, like for example, their question is on TDS implications, TDS ki testing karni. If the question is mentioned ki what are the how compute the amount of TDS portion, then you are going to show and compute the amount of TDS itself. Otherwise, you have to mention the provision कि क्या प्रोविजन है, कब लगेगा, जो circumstances दिए हैं, relate those circumstances with the provision accordingly to write the provision of the section in your answer sheet. Ma'am, I have completed only with basics residential status along with 5 heads of income. Can you please guide me how to cover remaining parts with the available time? I, however, completed the half of the GST. If you have done with the 5 heads of income, then fine. But at this stage, we feel and we advise students that you should complete your studies. This is a revision time actually. But you have done that, then you proceed with the clubbing provision, set of provision, deductions, finally to the return, this advanced tax liability, TDS provisions, then you have to do everything. You cannot skip, right? So proceed with, give more time to the income tax portion. If you have done the other subjects, then you have to allocate more time to the income tax, right? You have done GST, then you give allocate more time accordingly. Make your study plan accordingly, right? According to your preparation. This is the thing. Any other query relating to your question paper pattern?
Because now we just come to the MCQ. I'm just skipping the slab rate because you must already be aware of the slab rate. By way of this MCQ, we will dealing with the surcharge. What is the different surcharge threshold limit under default tax regime and under normal provision of that? But before coming to the solution, we just want all of you to participate in the MCQ. I'm just reading the MCQ and you just
give your answers. First of all, I think let's take only 4 or 5 hands are there so that you please down your hands. Then again raise your hands to answer these queries, right? Everybody is like, okay.
Maybe their query is resolved.
Already been resolved. Atanu, you want to ask something? Atanu also gone. Bansari, Bansari Patel, you have any doubt? Shreya, you can unmute yourself.
Yes,
do you want to answer the MCQ, Shreya?
No, ma'am, I want to ask a doubt.
Yeah, please ask.
Ma'am, as the 70-30 pattern changed to 50-50 patterns, will descriptive part of questions other than MCQ contain theoretical part also for both the
Yeah,
papers?
you are understanding not correctly. Actually, it is not 50-50 pattern. First,
Huh.
Dimple will clarify your doubt.
First of all, you are just mentioning the 30-70 has shifted to 50-50. Not, it's not like that. Earlier, if I will say about the earlier, what was happened, your taxation paper basically comprises of two laws. It's your income tax. I'm just using the abbreviation here, and your GST. Earlier, your GST was of 40 marks, and your income tax was of 60 marks. Now it has been changed. Income tax portion is of 50 marks and your GST is of 50 marks also. These things has undergone change. But regarding the 30-70 assessment, it was earlier also it was 30-70, 30 your MCQ based and 70 your descriptive. Now also is 30-70. It means for your income tax, from this 50 marks, 30 marks, it means 50 marks is in the form of your MCQs, whether in case scenario based MCQ or independent MCQ, and the remaining 35 marks is of descriptive. Similarly, for GST, same pattern is there for GST. So 30-70 is there, but your paper 100 marks paper is divided into two sections, section A income tax law and GST. Then it will come 30-70 pictures. The 37 is in MCQ form and 70% is descriptive form.
So here, if you add 15-15, it is 30-70.
30-70. 30 marks.
35 plus 35 is 70, and 15 plus 15 is
30.
So 30-70 is following in both. Section A maybe it has to be complied with, and section B maybe it has to be complied with, right? So Shreya, I think your doubt is clear. Neha, you may unmute yourself.
Ma'am, I want to ask that will descriptive question contain theoretical questions or not?
Regarding the income tax law, mainly it's application oriented, because your income tax is definitely application oriented. Only few marks, suppose I'll just advise 2 to 4 marks question can be of knowledge based, otherwise it will be application oriented only.
Yes. Gufran, you may ask your query. Gufran is not there. Priyanshu Kalra. If your queries are being resolved, please down your hand so that move to the MCQs.
मैम कंपलसरी क्वेश्चन आएगा, और अगर आएगा तो कौन से मतलब आएगा चैप्टर में से?
That we have already explained you that compulsory question would be of 15 marks based on the computation of tax, total income and tax liability of an individual in the manner to optimize their tax liability. In that form, it will be asked.
And in the MCQ, all your MCQs will be compulsory. So 15 marks compulsory portion will be here also, and 15 marks compulsory and descriptive also. So if I say your 30 marks will be compulsory paper.
मैंने टोटल इनकम वाला चैप्टर नहीं किया, वो एक बार बता दो उसमें क्या है?
उसमें आपका सब कुछ है. You know, till the your chapter 9 is total income, right? Chapter 9 is total income and tax liability computation. Till chapter 8, everything, whatever being discussed, has to be have the full knowledge of all this chapter. Then only you can do your computation of total income tax liability, right? Read the chapter, solve your problems without seeing the solutions given in the study material. Then you will come to understand whether you have understand the provisions which are dealt till the chapter 8 or not. Do it accordingly. If you are not done, then please again revisit those provisions, those chapters, and then come again to solve the total income and tax liability.
This last chapter is the combination of all the chapters.
Yes, it is an integration of everything what are being discussed till chapter 8, right?
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. Pooja, you please ask your query.
गुड आफ्टरनून मैम.
गुड आफ्टरनून
मैम. एक्चुअली मुझे क्वेरी है कि जैसे क्वेश्चन में अगर मुझे ये नहीं दिया हुआ कि डिफॉल्ट टैक्स रीजन से होगा या ऑप्शनल से, तो क्या मैं मतलब अपनी मर्जी से एज्यूम करके इट इज ऑप्शनल ऐसा करके मैं ऑप्शनल से दे सकती हूँ आंसर?
Pooja, in the question, it will be written whether the assessee is paying tax under default tax regime or he has opt out for the normal provision of the act. If nothing is mentioned in the question, I would already told you if it's a compulsory question of 15 marks, because the weightage of the question is so high of 15 marks, you have to compute under both that regime, under the default tax regime also, under the normal provision also. And while solving that question, keep in mind that first you have to compute as per the default tax regime, because under section 15 BAC is your default tax regime. So the normal provision is the secondary option which is given to the assessee. So first you have to compute under section 115 BAC, then you have to also compute under normal provisions of the act. In the question, suppose I'm just saying, telling in the MCQs, it is not mentioned in the MCQ whether assessee is opting opt out of default tax regime or paying under default tax regime. And the question is on, suppose, HRA exemption or in deduction.
Yes.
Suppose that is available under the normal provision only. So you have to give the answer according to that provision, because it's under normal provision. So there is no question of assumption. You can't challenge the question because the option is not there, nil option is not there. So I'm not taking any correct any option. So in that case, no, under normal provision you have to assume it.
Means मैम both region से मेरे को आंसर देना होगा.
Compulsory question में definitely you have to give.
You have to compare both.
Both. If
Okay.
nothing is mentioned in the question.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay.
I think we have resolved many queries. Prabhu will already answer the MCQ one. I think we can take you to the MCQ. Prabhu is knowing, and we want you to understand this MCQ and answer. And we will take queries. Just let's take some of the, these are very important and crucial things where the students can easily do some mistakes, right? So let's read this MCQ. Dimple, you explain that MCQ.
Yeah. During the previous year, 2023-24, Mr. Ranjit has short-term capital gain of 95 lakhs, taxable under section 111A, and long-term capital gain of rupees 110 lakhs.
मैम MCQ क्लियर नहीं है, MCQ क्लियर नहीं दिख रहा.
Clear? Just a second.
Is it not visible to you?
Is it now clear?
No, ma'am.
Let's
Clear, ma'am. I think it's a connection issue.
Ma'am, clear.
Clear, ma'am.
Clear.
I think everything is clear to all. Please check
Ma'am, it is clear.
Yes, ma'am, it is clear.
Yeah. Mr. Ranjit has a short-term capital gain of 95.
Please unmute yourself.
Sorry, mute yourself.
Mute yourself, please.
Short-term capital gain of 95 lakh, which is taxable under section 111A, and long-term capital gain of rupees 110 lakhs, taxable under section 112A, and business income of rupees 530 lakhs. Which of the following statement is correct under default tax regime? Be careful that you have to keep in mind that the assessee, that you have to see the statement under the default tax regime. Why I am saying is because there is an amendment. Because of that, the answer would go undergone a change under both the regime. So first option is surcharge at the rate 25% is leviable on the total income of rupees 735, which comprises of your business income, short-term capital gain, and long-term capital gain. Second option is surcharge at the rate 15% on your total income. C option, surcharge at the rate 15% in respect of income tax computed on capital gain. Capital gain both short-term and long-term. And in respect of business income, surcharge is leviable at 25% on income tax. Next, D option, 15% in respect of income tax computed on capital gain of 205 lakhs. And in respect of business income, surcharge is leviable at the rate 37% on income tax. So, what is the correct option? And whosoever know the option, just raise your hand. We will ask your name, and you just need to unmute yourself and give the reasoning also why it's the correct option.
Shreya, you want to answer?
Shreya?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, do you want to answer?
Tell me the correct option.
Ma'am, answer is C.
If C, then why this C?
Why C?
Because, ma'am, as surcharge rate cannot exceed 15% on special incomes like capital gains under section 111A, capital gains under section 112A, and long-term capital gains and dividend income. So surcharge will be 15% on capital gains, and for business income, the highest rate under default tax regime is 25%. So the answer is C.
Very good.
Very good, Shreya. Because this is the amendment that the higher surcharge rate under default tax regime cannot is the 25%, not the 37% under normal provisions. So the correct option is C. If anyone has any doubt in this MCQ, if you are
No,
not
ma'am.
understood or you are not comfortable with the C option, is it clear, student?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, great.
Suppose in this MCQ only, I just remove this sentence as correct under, I'll just change the sentence under normal provisions of that. So would the answer be same or
No.
Then what would be the answer?
Option D.
Option D.
option D? Because
Yes.
in case of normal
Option D.
provisions of the Act, higher surcharge rate is 37%. Why? Because the other income, it exceeds 5 crore.
Yes.
There is a difference between the default regime and the normal
No.
provisions. Where the highest surcharge
Okay.
can be 25%, here it is 37%.
37%.
2 crore के बाद में 25% है, यहाँ पे 5 crore के बाद में 37%. This is the difference,
ठीक है.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
So please mute yourself. It's creating disturbance in the class. Now we are moving to the another MCQ.
What would be the tax liability of Miss Savita, a resident who attained the age of 60 years on 1st April 2024, on the total income of rupees 7,25,000, comprising of your salary income and interest on FD, under default tax regime under section 115 BAC? A, 28,600, B, 26,000, C, 3,600, or D, 2,600?
B.
B.
Prabhu is writing options.
Prabhu is writing option D. So answer, what was the answer? Who have answered B? Who have answered option B?
Don't hesitate to raise your hand. If you
Ma'am,
are making any
CO
mistake, then
C
also
ऑप्शन
it's
क्या लिखा
okay.
हुआ है? मैम COD ऑप्शन क्या है?
C is 3,600, D is 2,600. You have to compute, right? You have to compute here. So carefully compute the,
And we
liability.
want more participants to raise your hands to ask query or to interact with us. Because if you are doing any mistake there, it's okay. It's better to make a mistake here rather than in the examination hall. So don't feel shy if you are choosing the correct option or you are wrong anywhere. So don't feel any shy or don't hesitate.
Someone have given the answer B. Who have given? Can you explain why it is B?
Ma'am, option A.
One by one. Raise your hand and tell me your name first.
You should say.
Shreya, you want to answer? Shreya, Bansari, Patel. Three people only raise their hands. Now Himanshu. Let's give the opportunity to Himanshu. Himanshu, you answer.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yeah,
Good afternoon.
Ma'am, its answer is option A, 28,600.
Okay, and tell me how you derived that answer.
Ma'am, as under default tax regime, there are different slab rates.
Okay.
First, rupees 3 lakhs, there is nil tax. So next 3 lakh to 6 lakh, on 3 lakh, there will be 5% of tax, which will be 15,000.
Okay.
On next 1,25,000 means 6 lakh to 7,25,000. 7,25,000, there will be 10% of tax rate.
Okay, so its total comes to 27,500.
Yes, ma'am. Or then there will be health and education cess of 4% on this. We will get 28,600.
Okay.
Let's ask. I think you have missed something. Prerna, would you like to correct? Prerna.
Yes, good afternoon, ma'am.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
I'm Prerna Ghatkar. My answer is option C, 3,600.
36. And no, option C is not correct.
Tell me how you drive that option. C.
Ma'am, 0 to 3 lakh nil, then 3 lakh to 6 lakh 5%. That is 12 lakh 15. That is
12,500. That comes to 27,500.
20,000. Then HCC 4. After that, ma'am.
Please, other students, please mute yourself. Prerna is answering. Please listen her. How is she is driving the C option?
After that, ma'am, rebate under rebate of 25,000.
Okay. So
Then,
rebate,
ma'am,
yeah.
ma'am, after that, HCC of 4%. That is 2,600, ma'am.
Okay, so you are saying the correct option is D.
Yes, ma'am, 2,600.
Okay. Any other option, B or C or C? If any student is getting C option,
Kritika, you
B,
explain.
madam, B. Option B.
option B. Okay, we will come to that also.
B.
Option C, if any student is getting option C also, we just want to know what kind of solution students are doing, what kind of option they are getting.
D, ma'am.
Option B, madam. Option B is the right answer.
So many of
Option
you
B.
option C, D. I think
Option
she
A,
should
ma'am.
explain it now. Please mute yourself. Dimple is
Ma'am,
going to
option
explain
E.
you how the option D is correct, whether not.
Yeah.
Right? She is going to tell you.
Before going to the solution, I just brief you regarding the 87A
Yes.
rebate. First of all, it is available to resident individual only. That you must all know that. It is not available against tax payable on long-term capital gain under section 112A. It means if you have income under section 112A, then you will not get the rebate in respect of that tax payable, which is on this long-term capital gain. Then important one thing is also that you will not get the rebate has to be computed before adding the HEC. Firstly, you have to give the rebate. If it is available to the assessee, then you have to compute HEC and you have to add to the tax liability. In this question, that question is based on under default tax regime. So what it says max the threshold limit is 7 lakh. Maximum rebate you can get it of 25,000, but there is a concept of marginal relief in rebate under section 87A. What is the marginal relief? Can any student explain what is the marginal relief? What is the meaning
7
of
lakh. Madam, last marginal is 7,27,770.
yeah.
You are computed. Very good.
Very good. Let's other also try to see how you get that amount, that figure. First, tell me what is marginal relief actually. Anyone?
Madam,
The income
the
of the
assessee.
assessee is greater than by a small portion, and the tax liability of the assessee is greater than the amount which is than the basic exemption limit, then the tax liability should be reduced to the amount of the excess income which is above the basic exemption limit. In this 115 BAC case, it would be 7 lakhs, which up till which rebate can be claimed under 87A.
Very good. If there is an increase, suppose there is a limit of 7 lakh, threshold limit is 7 lakh under section 87A under default tax regime. If there is an increase in income, but due to which the increase in tax liability is more than the increase in your total income. So this tax liability, it has to be restricted to the income which is increased till this. So for the remaining portion, you will get a marginal relief. That is called marginal relief. And this concept is introduced in 87A also, but under default tax regime only, not under normal provisions of the Act. So what it says, in this case, who is the assessee in our case? Our assessee is Miss Savita.
Savita.
Yeah. Her total income is 7,25,000. So the threshold limit was 7 lakh, yani up to 7 lakh, if you have a total income, then you will get a rebate of 25,000, maximum 25,000. So total income is increasing by rupees 25,000. But when you compute the tax on this 7,25,000, you are getting 27,500 tax liability. Your income is increasing by 25,000, but your tax liability is increasing by 27,500. This is not the purpose. So for that, government is saying because your income is increasing by 25,000 only, so your tax liability will be restricted to this portion only. So for the remaining portion, that is 2,500,
You will get it.
You will get a marginal relief. So your tax liability will be restricted to what? Restricted to your increase in total income, which is 25,000. And that rebate is before HEC. So on this 25,000, you have to add HEC of 4%. Then your tax liability will be. Is it clear, student?
Yes, ma'am, clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so the correct option in this case will be B,
No, ma'am.
26,000.
6,000.
मैम पर इसमें पता कैसे लगेगा कि
No.
इसमें क्या फॉर्मूला कौन सा लगेगा, मार्जिन रिलीफ लगेगा
Actually,
या नहीं लगेगा?
actually, if you see in the study material, formula is given, but you don't need to go by the formula. You have to understand the concept. What is the concept here? Your income is increasing by 25,000, but your tax liability is increasing by more amount. So that is not the purpose. So they are saying, government is saying that just because you have earned 25,000 more, that doesn't mean that you have to pay more than the amount which you have earned. So we are restricted to the amount which you have earned, 25,000. But under normal provisions of the Act, this marginal relief concept is not there. In that case, the limit is 5 lakh, threshold limit. So up to 5 lakh, if your total income is up to 5 lakh, then only you will get the rebate under section 87A. If you get the income of rupees 5 lakh 1,000, then you have to pay tax on 5 lakh 1,000. You will not get the marginal relief under normal provisions of the Act. This marginal relief under section 87A is under the default tax regime only.
Actually, government wants you to, opt for this default
tax regime. They want to promote this default tax regime.
Do not want to promote the deductions or those things. So these are available in the normal regime. So certain deductions and exemptions are not available in the default tax regime. But to, lure the taxpayers to opt for this, they have bring in this marginal relief concept also under the default tax regime, which is not available in the normal provisions. Right?
Okay, ma'am.
You understand it? So, don't, rote learn the formula given in the study. You please understand the concept. What is the logic behind it? Why they are giving this marginal relief of 25,000 only? Because they want to say that your tax liability cannot exceed the income, the amount of the income which is increased. So you have to compare accordingly, and you can easily determine the marginal relief not only in case of 87A, in case of surcharge also. The concept of marginal relief was already there. In case of applicability of surcharge, if you have gone through your study material, marginal relief questions are given. There, if the income, total income exceeds your 1 crore, right? 1 crore se zyada hai, 1 crore 10 lakh hai, something, and then you will be able to, take the benefit of marginal relief. There also you are required to compute that marginal relief concept.
That point of time also the concept is marginal relief of the same. Just because you have earned more income by suppose 1 lakh, your surcharge rate is increased. So the government is saying just because you have earned 1,000 on 1 lakh more, because your surcharge rate slab rate 10 to 15%, you have fallen in the 15% slab rate, your tax liability is higher than what you have earned extra. So they are restricted to that limit. So marginal relief means the same, whether it's under surcharge, whether it's under rebate. The concept of marginal relief is the same.
Yeah, you have to understand the concept, logic behind, giving this marginal relief. आपकी 1,000 से increase हो रही है और आपकी इतनी ज़्यादा tax liability बढ़ रही है. So that government don't want. तो इस वजह से concept आया. Right? I think we can go. And now MCQ 3 we can take.
Ma'am. Ma'am, that one boy mentioned that the maximum amount of marginal relief under rebate, that 7,27,000 something, वो कैसे derive करना है?
वो I'll just tell you. हाँ, इसी में suppose I'll just ask you, Abni. Suppose income is the assessor's income is 7,28,000. So what would be his or her tax liability? Normal case में, मतलब default tax regime में, without marginal relief, without rebate, what would be her tax liability if total income was 7,28,000? Tell me, Avni.
Any other student can also answer.
27,800.
Yes.
Okay, 27,800
yes,
without HECs. By no slab rate only under default tax regime. In that case, her total income is increased by 28,000, but her tax liability is increased by 27,800. So it means marginal relief is not necessary because she is earning more than what she is paying to the government. Got it? Now suppose it's a 7,27,000. Then what would be her tax liability? Tell me, student.
28,080.
You are telling the tax liability after HEC or before? Because firstly, rebate ke liye we have to see
27,700.
27,700.
Yes.
Before HEC you have to compute, you know.
हाँ.
Yes.
अब in this case, her total income is increased by 27,000, but her total tax liability increases by 27,700. So it means in this case, she has to pay 700 out of her pocket
Extra.
So in that case, she will get a rebate of 700. So her total tax liability will be restricted to the extra income which she has earned, that is 27,000. And on this 27,000, you have to add 4% HEC.
Okay.
So the student who has set the amount of for the maximum threshold limit, it's nothing. It's not a formula or something. He has just derived by taking the different permutation combination. Just like I have told, suppose if 7,27,000, then you will get the rebate. But if it's 7,28,000, you will not get a rebate. By this only you have to come to the amount, the threshold limit, whether there will be nil, there will be no rebate under section 87A. So it's nothing mentioned in the study material or in the act or anywhere. It's by your own interpretation, by clarity of the concept, you just drive to that figure.
Madam, that limit was set up by the CBDT.
CBDT is not in the Income Tax Act. CBDT has given us for the clarification purpose. In the act, definitely in the act, they have not mentioned this is the, you know.
You have to exactly compute
that figure.
Actually. You need to proper computation of it.
Income tax mein if you go, Income Tax Act mein, there will be no such kind of limit. Like in surcharge also. Surcharge में 50 lakhs पे there is no surcharge, then 50 lakhs से above there is surcharge of 10%.
एक particular हाँ. जहाँ पे तक ही आपको marginal relief मिलेगा. Otherwise उसके beyond limit you will not be able to get. So you have to compute that. This is a computational thing. Now Dimple, we can take the other.
हाँ. In this, I have not given the MC options. You have to mention, you just wrote in the chat box or you just raise your hand. If you have arrived the answer, then I'll ask the student to unmute his or herself. Then you will tell the the answer. What would be the tax liability of Miss Savita, a resident who attained the age of 60 years on 1st April 2024 on the total income of rupees 4,90,000? It comprises of salary income of 3 lakh and long-term capital gain under section 112 of 1,90,000. And you have to compute under normal provisions of the act.
Very interesting question. Take some time, solve it and
and keep in mind the everything. In this case, it is mentioned it's she is a resident. Okay, that's okay. But salary income mein, what will be the slab rate? Because she is paying tax under normal provisions. So slab rate will be 2,50,000, 3 lakh or 5 lakh. First you have to see. Then LTCG pe what is the rate on long-term capital gain under section 112. Then you have to see. You have to see the threshold limit for the rebate under section 87A. Then you have to see the maximum amount of rebate you can get under section 87A. So all these things you have to keep in mind while giving the answers. So please be careful. And whosoever got the answer, just raise your hand. We got an answer from Prabhu. Just let's give some time to the other also to answer. Avni, Shreya, Nihar, those three has raised their hand.
39,520.
39,000?
520.
520. This is the one answer we are getting. We are getting answer of 26,520 from Prabhu. Others also participate. Neha, Pooja, Priya, Gufran.
19,760.
Pardon me,
Can you
Nihal?
repeat it?
19,760.
19,760. 60. Okay.
Any other?
If someone is having a different answer from that, all these three.
Ma'am, answer is nil.
Answer is nil. Okay. This is the fourth answer.
Ma'am, nil.
Nil. Okay, we got nil from 2.
Madam, nil.
Okay, 3. Any other different answer if someone is getting?
Neha, what's your answer?
Nil आएगा मैम.
Nil. Okay. Prerna?
26,520.
Okay.
I think we can ask Prerna to explain.
Yes, ma'am. This is the normal tax provision. Therefore, first one is 0 to 2,50,000 nil. After that, this is 60 years. So the limit is 0 to 3 lakhs. So first one is salary for that is nil. Then the LTCG under section 112, that is income is 1,90,000. On that 20% tax rate, that is 38,000. After that, ma'am, rebate is rebate under section 87, 12,500. Then the amount comes is 25,500 plus 4% HEC, 26,520.
Very good.
Very good,
Thank you,
Prerna. Very good.
So I think many of you are arriving at nil answers.
Nil answer because they are giving the rebate of 38,000. In the earlier slide also, just a brief, I have mentioned you the maximum amount of rebate. Maximum amount of rebate is rupees 12,500 under normal provision and 25,000 under BAC. That will get an impact if you have a tax, you have a special income which is chargeable at special rates of tax. If you are having normal income, then definitely your answer will be 12,500 or 25,000. But if you are having special income, then definitely this maximum amount will come into picture and you will get mistake like this. You will get nil answer because the maximum rebate which you get is 12,500 here.
This concept you will able to, get it if you are able to solve the question. Then only you will able to understand why it is. Then you have to again visit the provision. See, there is a threshold limit of 12,500 is also there. It's not completely tax liability नहीं लगेगी. Depending on the tax liability. Of course, special rates है 5% तो नहीं है ना, it's 20%. So accordingly, rebate लेकिन आपको 12,500
12,500 ही मिलेगी.
ठीक है. So
this answer, I guess, it is arrived because someone has not given the rebate. So I just want to understand why the student has not given the rebate. Is there any particular reason, or she or he just missed? Don't feel shy. Who has given this answer? 39,520.
Ma'am, Pooja, ma'am.
Yeah, Pooja. You just forget to give the rebate, or there is some other reason?
Yes, ma'am. Forget to.
Okay.
ये वाली mistake MCQ time पे please don't do. Descriptive में भी नहीं करनी है. आपके marks तो कटेंगे, but MCQ में will get 0. You are aware of the provision, but you skipped it. So you have to very careful while doing the MCQ, while doing the descriptive.
We got the 4 answers, and in MCQ we will have the 4 options also. So these definitely 4 options will be there, and
you will easily tend to do the mistake.
Yes, ma'am. आगे से ध्यान रखूंगी.
Okay, we just move to the residential status. I hope rebate, surcharge. If you have any doubt, some particular doubt for rebate or surcharge.
ये वाला क्वेश्चन फिर से बता दो एक बार, ये कैसे हुआ है solve?
Yeah, sure. In this case, first of all, you have to see what are the conditions and whether the conditions are met in this particularly question or MCQ. first condition is that the assessee should be a resident. Whether your assessee Savita is a resident, yes, she is a resident. In this case, you have to see the basic exemption limit also, because she is attaining the age of 60 years as on 1st April 2024. Your previous year is what? 2020, 2023 and 24. If you see the circular, which is also in the there in the study material, if her birthday is falling on the first day of the next previous year, she will be the senior citizen in previous year 2023-24. So it means basic exemption limit will be 3 lakh in her case. She has the normal income of 3 lakh, so there will be no tax on this 3 lakh. On the long-term capital gain under section 112A, the tax rate is 20%. 20% of what? 1,90,000. So tax is 38,000. But her total income is not exceeding rupees 5 lakh. So it means she is eligible for rebate under section 87A under normal provision. Under default tax regime, the threshold limit would be 7 lakh plus the marginal relief also. But in this case, the threshold limit is 5 lakh. So rebate, you can't give the rebate of whole amount. The rebate, maximum rebate is tax payable or 12,500, whichever is higher. So in this lower, sorry. So in that case, rebate you will get of maximum 12,500, and the remaining is getting 25,500 is the tax liability. This is before HEC. You have to add HEC 4% here, and then your answer 26,520 will be there.
मैम रिबेट क्यों मिल गया इसमें? मैम इसमें वो एग्जम्पशन नहीं लगेगी? बेसिक एग्जम्पन
her total her salary income is 3 lakh. No, 3 lakh की basic exemption limit is exhausted under this salary income. The slab rate is 0 to 3, then 3 to 5.
What about salary?
नहीं मैम, मैं टोटल इनकम की बात कर रही हूँ. 3 लाख से लेके 5 लाख तक 5% बेसिक एग्जम्पशन मिलती है ना, अगर सीनियर सिटीजन हो तो.
Students here, see here, there are two incomes in the question, 3 lakh and LTCG income of 1,90,000. First जो basic exemption limit है ना, पहले आप other than LTCG करोगे exhaust. अगर suppose यहाँ पर 2,80,000 होती है salary income, तो जो 20,000 unexhausted basic exemption limit है वो यहाँ से reduce हो जाती. ठीक है, अभी उसकी बेसिक एग्जाम्पशन लिमिट क्या है? 3 लाख रुपीज इज द बेसिक एग्जाम्पशन लिमिट, राइट? सो दैट इज एग्जॉस्टेड फुली व्हाइल डूइंग द कंप्यूटेशन ऑफ इनकम एंड सैलरी. अब आपकी होल और सोल द 1,90,000 रिमेन्स, सो उस पे आपको 5% नहीं लगेगा. इट इज टैक्सेबल एट द रेट ऑफ 20% बिकॉज़ इट इज स्पेशल रेट गिवन इन सेक्शन 112 इटसेल्फ, राइट?
ओके मैम, ओके मैम,
समझ गए? हां,
यस मैम.
इज इट क्लियर स्टूडेंट? और
Bhumika,
yes, ma'am, clear.
Bhumika is again and again asking regarding that while solving DT practical problem, suppose PGBP calculation goes wrong, due to which taxable income and also tax liability becomes incorrect, then marks will be given for part answer which is correct, or entire answer will be marked as wrong. See, step mark is always there. In descriptive portion, whatever be the portion you are doing correct, you will get the marks. जहाँ पे आप गलत जाएंगे, you are not going to get the marks, right?
And step marking is whole of 70 marks.
Why you are getting confused with the 70 marks? मतलब
The descriptive
marks. Only because in the MCQ you don't need to give any reasoning. So
means whole of 70 marks or only for chapter 9 question which is of 15 marks.
For everything. Suppose आपका सैलरी का क्वेश्चन आया, ठीक है, उसमें आपके एडजस्टमेंट HRE की एग्जामिशन आपको निकालनी है, वैल्यूएशन ऑफ परक्विजिट इज गिवन, ठीक है, आपका अदर एडजस्टमेंट्स भी दी हुई है सपोज उसमें, तो आपने सब HRE की एग्जामिशन आपने करेक्टली निकाल दिया, उसका कंप्यूटेशन ठीक कर दिया, उसके बाद वैल्यूएशन ऑफ परक्विजिट ड्रॉ किया, तो उसके मार्क्स ना. So जो भी whatever be the steps
for the descriptive portion there is a step marking, whether it's a compulsory question or any other question.
So then Gunjan is asking practical question में provision लिखना compulsory है. Yes, practical question का मतलब यहाँ theoretical question नहीं आएगा, आपका क्वेश्चन आएगा 2-3 marks में आएगा because it is application oriented paper. तो everything is practical only. यहाँ पे ऐसे computational, it is not a mathematical paper. आपको ओनली कंप्यूटेशंस के मार्क्स नहीं मिलेंगे, यू हैव टू सब्सटेंशिएट योर आंसर्स विद द रीजनिंग इटसेल्फ, कि आपने वो एडजस्टमेंट करी तो किस प्रोविजन के बेसिस पे करी, सो यू हैव टू राइट इट, राइट। सिंपली आपने कंप्यूट करके आ गया 50,000 प्लस 1 लाख प्लस दिस, नो, यू आर नॉट गोइंग टू गेट द आंसर्स फॉर इट। यू हैव टू सब्सटेंशिएट कि मैंने 10,000 की डिसअलाउंस करी है तो क्यों करी है, ठीक है, टीडीएस का ये रेट लगाया तो क्यों लगाया है, किस प्रोविजन के थ्रू मैंने रेट लेके आया है, तो दैट यू हैव टू राइट इन योर आंसर, ठीक है।
मैम एक ना पीजीबीपी वाले चैप्टर में एक डाउट है मेरे को मैम, उसकी ना प्रोविजंस वगैरह अच्छे से लर्न नहीं होती, मतलब लर्न हो जाती है, कंफ्यूजन बहुत होती है उसमें जब क्वेश्चंस करने लगते हैं प्रैक्टिकल, तो
सिर्फ पीजीबीपी में होती है और किसी में नहीं होती?
मैम बाकी में ज्यादा नहीं होती, पीजीबीपी में ज्यादा होती है।
अच्छा, तो प्रैक्टिस यू हैव टू डू एक्चुअली। आप देखो पीजीबीपी का तो आपके जो हेड्स ऑफ इनकम है ना, उनका परफॉर्मा भी दिया हुआ पीजीबीपी में,
Yeah.
गिवन द परफॉर्मा आल्सो, वो देखो उसको
मैम
रिवाइज
उसमें
करो।
डेप्रिसिएशन बहुत कंफ्यूजन है मैम, डेप्रिसिएशन में ज्यादा दिक्कत आ रही है उसमें
डेप्रिसिएशन
PGBP
में क्या व्हाट टाइप ऑफ प्रॉब्लम यू आर फेसिंग?
मैम जैसे 35A सेक्शन 35D, मतलब मैम इसमें थोड़ी सी कौन सी लो है कौन सी
100% कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर की डिडक्शन देता है वहां पे, जब आपने 35% आपने 100% डिडक्शन ले ली, वहां पे आपको डेप्रिसिएशन मिलेगा। ये चीज आपको ना पढ़ना पड़ेगा अच्छे से कि 35AD के प्रोविजंस लगाने हैं तो किस तरीके से कंप्यूटेशंस होएगी, यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड इट। वहां पे डेप्रिसिएशन का क्वेश्चन कब अराइज होगा?
हाँ, और 35AD में बेसिकली यू हैव टू रिमेंबर द स्पेसिफाइड बिजनेस एंड द स्पेसिफाइड डेट।
या 100% है वहां पे कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर पे आप करते हो, तो वहां पे आपको डेप्रिसिएशन की वो नहीं मिलती है, फिर वो डेप्रिसिएशन क्वेश्चन अराइज नहीं होता।
ठीक है मैम।
ठीक है, और वहां पे आपको नीड टू बी केयरफुल, जब अगर फुल फ्लेज क्वेश्चन में सपोज 35AD आता है, देन AMT,
हाँ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट,
you don't need to forget AMT के implications are also there, so
देखना टोटल एडजस्टेड हो 20 लाख से ज्यादा हो तो
हाँ AMT आएगा।
डिफॉल्ट टैक्स रेजाइम में AMT नहीं है।
हाँ, डिफॉल्ट टैक्स में AMT नहीं है, तो AMT जब आएंगे प्रोविजन, तो आपको जब आप 35AD की डिडक्शन आप ऐड करोगे, देन यू हैव टू प्रोवाइड डेप्रिसिएशन एट दैट पॉइंट, क्योंकि 35AD एक तरह से डिनाई हो गया, तो उस टाइम पे आपको डेप्रिसिएशन कंप्यूट करना पड़ेगा।
डिफॉल्ट टैक्स रेजाइम में जाओगे तो 35AD नहीं मिलेगा आपको, नहीं मिलेगा तो उन कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर का क्या मिलेगा आपको? डेप्रिसिएशन यू हैव टू कंप्यूट। सी इट्स अ मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कंपनी है तो वहां पे आपका
एडिशनल डेप्रिसिएशन भी मिलेगा।
होगा, तो ये आपको जितना आप प्रैक्टिस पढ़ोगे ना, देन ओनली यू विल गेट अ गुड होल्ड ऑफ द प्रोविजन।
एंड सारे प्रोविजन इंटीग्रेटेड है। डेप्रिसिएशन आप 32 में पढ़ रहे हैं, और आप ये डिडक्शन जो है 35AD में पढ़ रहे हैं। AMT के लिए आपका 115 JC है, तो बट सारे अगर आप देखेंगे सारे इंटीग्रेटेड है, सारे एक दूसरे से लिंक है।
मैम रेसिडेंस वाले में डाउट है, रेसिडेंस वाले चैप्टर में
रेजिडेंस के लिए वी हैव डिफरेंट सिचुएशंस एंड वी आर गोइंग टू आस्क फ्रॉम यू कि किस केस में एसएससी रेजिडेंट नॉन रेजिडेंट क्या होगा।
कैन यू एलिबरेट योर डाउट, व्हाट इज योर स्पेसिफिक डाउट, देन वी कैन टेक दैट।
श्योर।
Hello, who is asking this, that I have a doubt?
हेलो,
Yeah, please tell me what is your specific doubt in the residential status actually?
मैम उसमें मैम ये 180 डेज वाला मैम पीरियड, मतलब मैम किस क्वेश्चन में लगता है नहीं लगता मैम, उसमें डाउट होता है ना आगे आगे मैम 180 पीरियड्स और 123 वाला। वो जो
Ashlisha. So Ashlisha, just do one thing. This situation, first situation, just you answer the situation.
Let's understand now the provisions with the help of these situations. ठीक है, एक बार रिवाइज करेंगे हम सब रेजिडेंशियल स्टेटस के प्रोविजंस with the help of these situations. ठीक है?
And you just first you answer this. Ashlisha, I am just asking you कि in this situation, what you understand whether Mr. Sushant is resident, non-resident, what? You just answer this situation, first situation. Mr. Sushant is an Indian citizen, left India for the first time during the previous year 2023-24 for the purpose of employment. He was in India during this current previous year for 181 days. So what would be his residential status?
Non-resident.
Resident होगा।
Resident, who is saying resident, raise your hand. Who is saying resident only, just raise your hand.
Non-resident.
मैम वो इंडिया सिटीजन है तो मैम उसके बाद 23-24
नॉन रेजिडेंट होगा।
Just mute yourself. Who is saying कि he will be a resident, raise your hand. Then I will ask who will saying non-resident to raise their hand. First about the resident, I just want to hear from you कि why you are saying he is a resident.
मैम इंडिया सिटीजन है वो तो रेजिडेंट होगा.
Okay, Ashlisha, मतलब in the provision nothing is mentioned कि if Indian citizen है then he would be always resident. You have to see number of days also he stayed in India.
मैम 180 days.
181 days.
181 days and the purpose of employment.
So first thing, Ashlisha, I'm just going to tell first there are two basic conditions.
Ma'am, can I answer this question?
Whose name? Please name your.
Lakshmi.
Lakshmi, sure, Lakshmi.
He is an Indian citizen who left India for employment. Here, the basic condition that is staying in India during previous year 182 days not apply. Only apply, not the basic condition to stayed in.
Let Lakshmi complete, then we will come to you. Yeah, Lakshmi.
Stayed in India during previous year 60 days and 365 in last preceding 4 years does not apply. Hence, he is left India. So the condition 182 days will be applied, but he is not satisfying by staying 181 days. Hence, he becomes a non-resident.
Very good, Lakshmi. Ashlisha, is it clear or you have certain doubt?
Yes, ma'am. Clear.
Clear, okay. So there are two basic conditions. First is the assessee has to stay in India during the previous year for 182 days or more. Or the second condition is 60 days or more in the current previous year plus 365 days or more in during the immediately preceding 4 previous year. So second condition is the plus 60 days plus 365 days you have to see. First exception in this case is the person is an Indian citizen who is leaving India for the purpose of employment. So in this case, your second basic condition would not be applicable. So if the assessee is leaving, is an Indian citizen, he is leaving India for the purpose of employment, then he would be resident in India only and only if he is staying for 182 days or more. In this case, he is not staying for 182 days or more, so he would be non-resident. Okay.
Ma'am, here we have to check 15 lakh income limit or not.
Yeah, that will become after this. But 2-3 situation we are dealing, then your 15 lakh only condition when you have to see, when you don't require to see what will be happen if it's less than 15 lakh or more than 15 lakh. We have covered in the different situation also.
This is very important provisions, students. Actually, what is happening, there are certain things, actually, you have to remember many things. There are many additional conditions, basic conditions, and exceptions are there. तो आप क्या करोगे ना, all of you, try to make your own note. स्टडी में बहुत अच्छे नोट्स दिए हुए, टेबल दी हुई, आपको सब कुछ दिया हुआ, एवरीथिंग इज गिवन, बट एक बार ना ऑन योर ओन ट्राई टू मेक योर नोट, अपना खुद का चार्ट ले, देन यू आर नॉट गोइंग टू गेट एनी कंफ्यूजन. ठीक है, एक बार खुद से बनाना रेजिडेंशियल स्टेटस कैसे डिटरमाइन होता है, देन ट्राई टू सॉल्व द क्वेश्चंस गिवन इन द स्टडी. फिर उसके बाद एमसीक्यू पोर्टल पे क्वेश्चंस दिए होंगे, वो करना, आपको कभी डाउट नहीं होगा.
And try to give situations to yourself. This situation we have created ourselves, so you can give the situations to yourself also.
Yes.
कि what if in this first condition, suppose if it's 182 days, then what will be the answer? Suppose in this case, like in the second case, if you see
Indian citizen नहीं होता suppose इस केस में, तो क्या होता? तो ये वाली situations ना अपने माइंड में फ्रेम करना खुद से. Try to do that exercise. Definitely आपको ना बहुत अच्छे से you are going to get बहुत अच्छे से clarity हो जाएगी what are the provisions. There are of course मतलब many things you have to keep in mind. So उसको clarify करने के लिए please make your own chart. अपने आप खुद से बनाना. बुक में बहुत अच्छी टेबल दी हुई है, आप देखोगे समझ में आ जाएगा, लेकिन आपके उसको रीड करोगे, वहां पे आप अपना माइंड नहीं अप्लाई करोगे. So to have a better clarity on the provisions, आप अपने आप से you make a chart for residential status. ठीक है, बनाओगे.
सैलरी में इन द अर्लियर क्वेश्चन,
आई थिंक बच्चों को मुझे लग रहा था, आई वाज थिंकिंग व्हाई दिस डाउट हैव नॉट अराइज इन एनीज माइंड,
व्हाई वी आर टेकिंग दिस 3 lakh, व्हाई वी आर नॉट टेकिंग 2,50,000. See Rahul, in this case it is already, first thing it's already mentioned the total income. Yes. Second, it's salary income, so it means all the calculation, all the necessary deduction, exemption, whatever is available to Miss Savita, that has been given. Suppose in this case question salary income, instead of salary income it is given she received salary received by her, then definitely you have to provide the standard deduction of 15,000, which is available under both the tax regime now. So in this question, total income, her total income is already given. It means this salary income, it is already computed as per the provisions of the Income Tax Act. So you don't need to give again 50,000 ki standard deduction here. So that's why we have taken 3 lakh only, not 2,50,000.
Santosh is asking a query that should we remember all depreciation rates for all block of assets? Actually, whatever the rates are given to you in the study material regarding block of assets, you have to remember those rates. You have to remember. Otherwise, you are not able to, compute the depreciation part, do your computation of PGBP and everything. You have to remember those rates. याद कर लो ना, PGBP है, building है, आपकी
बिल्डिंग में है,
blocks दे रखे हैं,
फर्नीचर
furniture
में
है,
प्लांट एंड मशीनरी. प्लांट एंड मशीनरी बेसिकली यू हैव टू सेग्रीगेट कि व्हाट आर द स्पेशल रेट्स प्लांट एंड मशीनरी के लिए.
हो जाएगा. When you do 2-3 times, you are going to do and revise this, you will able to remember those, but you have to remember it.
Situation 2. Mr. Sushant is not an Indian citizen but a person of Indian origin. He was staying in India since 2000. He left India during the current previous year for the purpose of employment. During this previous year, he stayed for 181 days. Now, what would be his residential status for previous year 2023-24?
Non-resident.
Resident but not ordinary
Ma'am,
resident.
resident.
Resident and ordinary resident.
Resident and ordinary.
One by one.
Resident or ordinary resident.
Ashlisha
Resident and ordinary resident.
Okay, just first raise your hand if you are saying he will be non-resident. Only those who are saying he will be non-resident, just raise your hand. Priya, Pansri, Abhijit, Prerna, Lakshmi, Gufran. Okay, Gufran, you explain why he is non-resident during the previous year 23-24.
Madam, one of the exception in previous section is leaving for employment. There is an exception for 182 days for criteria. For another exception, person of Indian origin, only 182 days will applicable, not 60 days and for previous year.
Okay, Gufran, if you see, it is the conditions are, first condition is the assessee, the individual should be an Indian citizen. Then your second condition comes into picture. He is leaving India during the previous year. And third, what is the purpose of leaving India? For the purpose of employment.
Ma'am, here deemed resident would not apply because he is person of Indian origin.
But who is saying about deemed resident? Just want to explain this.
Deemed resident would not apply because he is a person of Indian origin.
Bansri, in this case, deemed resident, first of all, before going to the deemed resident provision, you have to see whether he is the resident as per the normal section 6(1). Section 6(1), you have to see whether he is a resident or non-resident. If he is a non-resident, then you have to see whether he is becoming the deemed resident by 6(1)(a) or not. If he is a resident under section 6(1), then we don't need to go under section 6(1)(a). So, पहले 6(1) में we need to see कि he is a resident or non-resident.
So stick to अभी right now for 6(1).
6(1) only.
ठीक है, जब यहाँ पे non-resident होगा,
then only deemed resident के provision will come into picture. So the exception, if you see the exception which I have told, the exception के लिए first thing is there. The exception is available if the person is an Indian origin leaving India for the purpose of employment. In this case, Sushant is not an Indian citizen. He is a person of Indian origin. If you are a person of Indian origin, then you will not fall under this exception. So it means the second basic conditions of 60 days during the previous year plus 365 days condition during the immediately preceding previous year will apply.
Got it?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
You were saying something?
नहीं मैम, मैं तो बस ये एक्सप्लेन करने के लिए पूछ रही थी.
Okay. ठीक है, in the next situation, I'll give a chance to you to explain.
Ma'am,
एक डाउट है.
हाँ जी, बोलो.
Ma'am, if the question is silent, then we should assume that it is less than 15 lakh, ma'am.
Varuni, your voice is not so much clear. Actually, you have to be little bit louder.
Ma'am, if the question remains silent, we should assume that it is less than 15
Still, you are not audible, Varuni.
See, in the question, somehow information will be definitely given whether the person is an Indian origin or not. If I wrote ki Mr. Sushant born in India, then definitely he will be Indian citizen. So this kind of information would be there. If I am saying, I am not mentioning he is a person of Indian origin, but I am saying his parents were born in India, or suppose he is coming to India to meet his parents who were living in India, or who were born in India. So that kind of information will be there in the question, and you have to drive whether he's an Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin. In this situation, definitely I have mentioned clearly, but in the exam also, if question is there, some kind of information definitely will be there.
Look for that information to assess whether it's an Indian citizen or a person of origin. Okay, so in this case, this second basic condition would be applicable. He will not fall under the exception cases. So, because second condition was 60 days during the previous year plus 365 days during the immediately preceding previous year. In this case, he is leaving for 181 days. So, 60 days condition is fulfilled. And he is in India since 2000. So, 365 days wali condition is also fulfilled by him. So, he is a resident.
Ma'am, but like there are three person resident, like which states that if they stay in India for 182 days, that will be only considered. So the person leaving India for employment. Second is ship crew member, and the third is person of Indian origin. So this one purpose.
Okay. Priya, you were asking this query, no, right?
Yeah, ma'am.
Priya, you have to see if I'll just explain the two exceptions which you are telling. The first exception is applicable if the person is Indian citizen. Okay. Second, he must be leaving India. Leaving India for what? For as a crew of Indian ship.
Yes.
Or for employment. Okay. And the second exception is available to whom? To an Indian citizen or person of Indian origin. Here the exception, person of Indian origin comes under this exception. If he is an Indian citizen or person of Indian origin, they are staying abroad. Outside India, they are staying abroad or staying outside India, and they are visiting India.
Okay, ma'am.
Then this second condition, 60 plus 365 days, would be applicable, not applicable. This will come, we will see in the next situation, because in this case only that 50 lakhs wali condition is there.
Yes, ma'am.
So, but यहाँ पे हमारा case is not about staying abroad and visiting India. Our case is leaving India for the purpose of employment.
Okay, ma'am.
ठीक है?
Yeah.
So he will be resident, and if we go into further detail, he will be ROR. Why? Because he is in India since 2000. So definitely he would be resident in two out of 10 years and staying 729 days or more during the 7 immediately preceding previous year. So he would be ROR. Now third situation. Mr. Sushant is a person of Indian origin residing in Canada. During the previous year 2024, he visited India on several occasions, and his period of stay in total amounting to 129 days. His period of stay during the previous year in earlier 4 previous year was 135, 115, 95, 125 days. His income from Indian source is 17 lakh during this year. What would be his residential status? Kritika, you have raised your hand. What would be his residential status? Resident, deemed resident. Deemed resident, I am not going to the deemed resident. Resident or non-resident? First tell me.
Resident.
वो resident रहेगा.
Okay, resident.
क्योंकि
resident.
मैम कि अपन अगर देखेंगे यहाँ पे कि वो एक तो इंडिया पर्सन ऑफ इंडियन ओरिजिन है और उसकी जो इनकम है वो 15 लाख से ज्यादा है, तो वो एक्सेप्शन में तो फॉल नहीं कर रहा है। तो मतलब उसमें अपन सेकंड कंडीशन को भी अपन उसको चेक करेंगे, मतलब जो 60 डेज वाली कंडीशन है वो भी चेक होगी। तो इस साल वो 129 डेज रहा, तो मतलब सेकंड कंडीशन उसकी मतलब पूरी 60 डेज वाली तो हो गई है। और लास्ट 4 इयर्स में 365 डेज रहा है, तो लास्ट 4 इयर्स में वो 470 डेज हो गए हैं उसके टोटल।
Okay, Kritika, I am just modifying the question. Suppose it's not 129 days, it's 100 days. Then your answer would be the same?
Yes, ma'am. 60 days
Okay,
चाहिए ना?
okay, ठीक है. If somebody has other opinion or other answer,
Yes,
or
ma'am.
other reasoning also.
Yes,
Ma'am,
ma'am.
it
Can I?
modified
Radhika
modified
want to
condition
speak.
of 120 days.
Condition will be applicable in a
Just one by one.
Radhika want to speak. Radhika, please you unmute yourself.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, in that case, the modified condition of 120 days and 365 days will be applicable, ma'am.
Yes, Radhika, you are right. In this situation, the second situation which I was telling, Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin who is staying abroad and visiting India, if his total income, excluding the income from foreign sources, it means Indian income, if it exceeds 15 lakh, then this second condition, which is 60 or 365 days, it would be get modified. It's not like that it would not be applicable. It would be applicable, but with the modification. He would be resident if he stays in India during the previous year for 120 days or more, plus 365 days or more in immediately for preceding previous years. So in this case, in first case, only one condition is applicable of 182 days. In this case, both conditions will be applicable, but with a modification, either 182 days or 120 days plus 365 days. So he would be resident. Sushant would be resident, but reason, if suppose it's a MCQ, in that case, your answer would be correct. He is a resident. But if it's a descriptive question, suppose, so the reasoning which the student has provided, reason is 60 days wali condition he is satisfied, the reason was not correct. So in spite of being the correct answer, because of reasoning, the wrong reasoning you have mentioned, you will get to lose marks in this descriptive question.
Yeah, in MCQ also, if it is 100 days.
If it is 100 days, then definitely, then again your answer will be wrong. Okay, so condition will be applicable 60 plus 365 days, but with the modification. The modification is what? Instead of 60, 120 days is there.
Don't forget plus 365.
Plus 365.
ठीक है, यहाँ पे क्या मैटर कर रही है? यहाँ पे टोटल इनकम मैटर कर रही है. ठीक है, if the person comes on a visit and its total income excluding the income from foreign sources exceeds 15 lakh rupees, वो भी कंप्यूट करना पड़ता है. सर्टेन डिस्क्रिप्टिव क्वेश्चंस पे इस तरीके से दे आर आस्किंग कि फर्स्ट आपको यू हैव टू कंप्यूट दैट टोटल इनकम एक्सक्लूडिंग फॉरेन सोर्स इनकम. वो कंप्यूट करोगे, देन यू विल अप्लाई दिस कंडीशन, राइट? सो दैट मैटर्स हियर.
So in this case, Mr. Sushant would be a resident. Okay. Then further, I just want to know whether he is RNOR or ROR. Just tell me, student. Is it clear that Mr. Sushant is a resident? Or if any student has doubt why he is a resident? Clear, student?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, just want to know from all of you whether he is a resident but not ordinary resident, or he is a resident and ordinary resident.
RNOR.
Not ordinary resident.
Ma'am, he is not ordinary resident.
NOR.
Okay. If somebody is saying he is an ROR, raise your hand. Shreya, you are saying he is a ROR, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Just tell me the reason.
Because as the person is from
Shreya, your voice is not audible. You have to just speak a little bit louder.
Hello, can you hear me, ma'am?
Yeah, please.
So ma'am, for in case of Indian citizen, the conditions would be like foreign income exceeding 15 lakh. So it satisfies as his income is 17 lakh. And
Okay.
also in India, he stays for more than 120 days or more, but less than 365 days in 4 years. So he satisfies both the conditions. So he is a resident and ordinarily resident.
Shreya, your reasoning was correct, but your ultimate answer is wrong. The condition which you have mentioned, that is for RNOR, not for ROR.
Okay.
He is a resident, but because he is a resident, not because of this 182 days condition, he is a resident because of 120 plus 365 days condition, he would be at RNOR.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, in that case, because he is not fulfilling 182 days condition, he is fulfilling 120 plus 365. So you don't need to see 729 days condition or so on. You don't need to see additional condition. He will be RNOR directly.
ओके मैम।
मैम मेरे को एक डाउट है।
हाँ,
इसमें अगर उसका जो बिजनेस है अगर वो आउटसाइड इंडिया है तो वो आर रेजिडेंट है क्या नॉन रेजिडेंट है? अगर उसका बिजनेस बाहर है और ब्रांच इसकी यहाँ है, मतलब मैम इसमें डाउट है, थोड़ा सा बता दो ये।
ओके, जस्ट अ सेकेंड। देखो यहाँ पे एक्चुअली फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल यू आर आस्किंग अबाउट कंप्यूटिंग 15 लाख वाली लिमिट, राइट?
नो मैम।
नहीं, क्योंकि okay, suppose he is a non-resident. Two things are there. Suppose you have determined his residential status, he is non-resident. So in non-resident के case में, which income would be taxable in India? Received in India or deemed to be received in India? Or accrue arise in India? Or deemed to accrue arise in India? So अभी जैसे आपने कहा कि suppose he is a non-resident, he is living outside, he is staying in outside India, he has a branch in India, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Branch के case में first of all you are talking about RNR, I guess. Reverse में you are saying RNR cases में you are, I'm just trying to understand, you are want to ask this particular type of key income business controlled in India or profession set up in India. Do you want to understand this or?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so you are saying that actually giving the wrong example. In this case, suppose I'm just giving Mr. A, he is in India and he has set up some business in India. Now he left India to suppose country X, and there he is getting some income from in country X from the under the name of this business. In country X, he has earning income under the name of this business. This income, which actually he is earning in country X, but he is getting this income because of the business or profession set up in India. So you are okay. Ab is case mein what would be arise? Two things are there. Can you compute the total income just for total income excluding income from foreign source? अब यहाँ पे what is the meaning of foreign source? Foreign source mean income from foreign source. It means income which is accrue or arise outside India except income from business controlled or profession set up in India. अब यहाँ पे two exclusions are there actually. तो यहाँ पे इसलिए confusion होती है. Total income means excluding income from foreign sources. Then income from foreign sources में you have to exclude income from business controlled or profession set up in India. It means what? It means you have to include this income while computing this total income for the purpose of determining residential status only. While you compute your total income for tax liability, that is different, but you have to compute this total income for the purpose of determining residential status only. For this, computing this total income, you have to include this income, business controlled or profession set up in India. So if I'll say what is this total income comprises of, total income comprises of your income received in India, income accrualized in India, income deemed to accrualize in India, or business controlled or profession set up in India. If after including this, your total income exceeds 15 lakh, then you have to determine his or her residential status. If it doesn't exceed 15 lakh, then condition will not apply. 120 plus 365 days वाली. अब what comes into picture? क्या होता है इसमें normally? Suppose total income exceeds 15 lakh. So he would be resident by fulfilling 120 plus 365 days condition.
मैम इसमें 15 लाख वाली कंडीशन चेक करेंगे?
नहीं, आई एम जस्ट टेलिंग अबाउट द एक्सेप्शंस व्हिच वी आर टेलिंग ना, ये वाले एक्सेप्शन, क्योंकि ये 15 लाख कंप्यूट क्यों करते हैं? ओनली इन टू केसेस व्हेन द पर्सन इज
क्रू मेंबर होता है और एक और
you have to check it. You have to check it to determine the residential
Indian
status.
citizen or person of Indian origin staying abroad or visiting India. इस केस में you have to check this 15 lakh condition और deemed resident के लिए. Firstly, you have to see this 15 lakh कि whether it is exceeding 15 lakh or not. क्योंकि अगर 15 lakh exceed नहीं कर रहा, then first he would not be deemed resident. Second, this 120 plus 365 days condition also would not be applicable. So only 182 days condition would be applicable. So firstly you have to see 15 lakh वाली condition. अब 15 lakh अगर suppose exceed कर गया, then if he is staying for 120 days or more, then he would be resident and RNOR. Suppose 15 lakh exceed नहीं करा, then he would be straight non-resident. अब non-resident के time पे again if you are computing total income as per provisions of the act, not for determining residential status, but as per provisions of the act for tax liability purpose. That time you have to keep in mind the scope of total income, that in case of resident, only these two types of income are taxable in India. So at the time of computing total income for tax liability, you will not include this income. Firstly, you have to include for determining residential status, but if the assessee becomes non-resident, then you will not include this income for computing the tax total income for tax liability purpose. So this type of question is also there in the study material or in the MCQ portal. So try to solve that case scenario or MCQs, because this is very important. First, in the first hand you have to include, and in the second hand you don't need
if
to.
he is a non-resident.
Non-resident.
मैम अगर उसने एक प्लांट है, अगर उसने सेल किया जर्मनी में और मैम 50% जो प्रॉफिट है वो इंडिया में रिसीव्ड होगा, तो इसका रेजिडेंट और
रेजिडेंट बनेगा? Because I have to take a query raised by Nikul Giri. He is raising this query again and again. We will take your query. Just wait for some time.
Okay.
He is asking, I have a doubt that all the questions are compulsory to answer in explanation. See, for MCQs, you need not to give any explanation, any reasoning. For descriptive questions, of course, you have to give the explanation. If we are asking that MCQ portion is compulsory questions, you have to attempt all MCQs. In descriptive questions, first question is compulsory, and from the other three questions, you have to attempt the two questions. So descriptive may you have to give the explanation. For MCQs, you need not to give any kind of reasoning, right? So Nikul Giri, I think we have clarified your doubt, right? Now, Ashlisha, what you are asking?
मैम मैं ये पूछ रही थी, अगर उसने जो प्लांट है अगर उसने सेल किया आउटसाइड इंडिया, बट उसका जो 50% प्रॉफिट है वो इंडिया में रिसीव्ड हो रहा है, तो इस केस में क्या होगा?
Received in India तो taxable है ये in case of whether it is a ROR, RNOR or non-resident. If something is received in India, that it is taxable in the hands of all assessee.
और मैम 50% तो उसके आउटसाइड इंडिया ही है ना?
नहीं तो 50% only you will taxable in India ना, not 100%. जितना portion, जितना consideration which you are receiving in India, only that portion will be taxable in India.
It's mentioned there are certain examples भी दिया हुआ कि आपकी 50% income from certain bonds are being received in India, तो 50%
only
taxable करेंगे. ठीक है, इन द
ठीक है
हैंड्स ऑफ नॉन रेजिडेंट, रेजिडेंट के हैंड्स में ग्लोबल इनकम आर टैक्सेबल। ठीक है,
ओके, थैंक यू मैम।
So
Hello, good afternoon, ma'am.
में डाउट है।
या दिव्यांश यू आस्क।
Yes, good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, I have doubt other than residential status. Can I ask?
या
मैम जैसे टोटल इनकम का जो हमारा फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन कंपलसरी क्वेश्चन आता है, तो उसमें कभी क्या बोलता है कि मोस्ट इफेक्टिव मैनर में टैक्स लायबिलिटी निकालनी है, तो हमें उससे उसमें दोनों रिजाइन्स के हिसाब से निकालना होता है फिर।
यस यस, यू हैव टू कंप्यूट बोथ। नाउ
और मैम जो उसमें प्रोविजंस लिखने होते हैं जैसे, तो हम वो 1-2 लाइंस में लिख सकते हैं या फिर पूरा एक्सप्लेन ज्यादा करना है? जैसे सेक्शन 35AD है, तो अगर साइंटिफिक रिसर्च के लिए कोई एक्सपेंडिचर डिडक्शन मिल रही है, अलाउड है, तो हम उसे ऐसे लिख सकते हैं डिडक्शन इन रिस्पेक्ट ऑफ सेक्शन 35AD, अगर वो है तो इट इज अलाउड।
हाँ, अगर आप नॉर्मल प्रोविजंस पे जा रहे हैं तभी वो डिडक्शन मिलेगी 35AD की, तो वहां पे आपको लिखना पड़ेगा यस 100% कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर अलाउबल एज डिडक्शन इज कंपनीज दैट अंडर सेक्शन 35AD। ठीक है, नॉर्मल प्रोविजन है। अगर बीएससी में जा रहे हैं वहां नहीं मिलेगी, वहां पे लिखोगे कि दिस डिडक्शन इज नॉट अलाउबल अंडर सेक्शन 115 बीएससी, फिर वहां पे आपको डेप्रिसिएशन कंप्यूट करना पड़ेगा। ठीक है, यू हैव टू मेक ब्रीफ रीजनिंग।
हाँ।
ठीक है, बहुत डिटेल में नहीं लिखना, बट जो एग्जैक्टली वो करने जा रहे हो आप जो भी एडजस्टमेंट करने जा रहे हो, उसका ट्रीटमेंट करने जा रहे हो, उस ट्रीटमेंट को सब्सटेंशिएट करना है कि आप ये क्यों कर रहे हो। ठीक है, ब्रीफली आपको देना है।
ओके मैम। मैम एक चीज और, जैसे जो 115 बीएससी और 115 बीएससी बने हैं, मेरे को इसमें थोड़ी कंफ्यूजन रहती है कौन सा डिफॉल्ट है और कौन सा दूसरा है, मतलब ना।
Divyansh, is this your first attempt or
यस मैम, फर्स्ट है।
okay? The first attempt में क्योंकि because now 115 BSc 1A is only there. So if any student who has given November 23, then I can understand this query, because now earlier 115 BSc 1 was there, in that different slab rate was there and it was an optional regime. But in 1A, it's a compulsory regime and the slab rates has also undergone a change. So you don't need to go by 1. You just, if I'm talking about the section, it's 115 BSc subsection 1A.
ठीक है, अगर बीएससी भी लिख रहे हो आप तब
भी
suffice
ठीक है।
करेगा।
हाँ, तो वन आई एम नॉट गेटिंग कि व्हाई यू हैव जस्ट कम टू नो कि वन इज डिफरेंट, सबसेक्शन वन इज डिफरेंट एंड वन इज डिफरेंट, बिकॉज नोवेयर इन द स्टडी मटेरियल दैट्स व्हाई वी हैव मेंशन्ड
दैट डिफॉल्ट टैक्स रेट अंडर से 115 बने
वन, हाँ, वन इज देयर।
अगर आपको नहीं
वन इज नो लॉन्गर
BSc भी
रेलेवेंट।
लिख रहे हो तो इट विल बी सफिशिएंट।
हाँ,
ठीक है।
ओके मैम, थैंक यू।
मैम लास्ट क्वेश्चन में डाउट है।
लास्ट क्वेश्चन
सिचुएशन 4 और
लास्ट
सिचुएशन 3?
सिचुएशन में,
लास्ट 4 सिचुएशन में,
हाँ लास्ट 3
में, ओके।
आंसर राइट है आर एंड NOR, बट जो रीजनिंग है वो गलत है। मैंने एडिशनल कंडीशन से उसका आंसर निकाला था, लाइक 729 डेज और लेस करके, तो मेरा आर एंड NOR आया था।
नहीं, RNOR आएगा, दैट इज करेक्ट, बट रीजनिंग इज डिफरेंट, क्योंकि बिकॉज यहाँ पे इन दिस केस assessee is resident just because of this 120 plus 365 days wali condition, he would be an RNOR. So you don't need to see 729 days wali condition or resident or non-resident in 10 previous.
So directly R and NOR हो जाएगा वो।
हाँ, वो डायरेक्टली
बाय डिफॉल्ट ही विल बी RNOR।
और
लाइक इन
एक
केस ऑफ
जनरल
डीम्ड
क्वेश्चन है
रेजिडेंट में भी
मैम
बोलते हैं
कि एग्जेम्प्ट और नॉन टैक्सेबल, वो दोनों में बहुत कंफ्यूजन होता है। अगर आई रोट एग्जेम्प्ट इंस्टेड ऑफ नॉन टैक्सेबल, तो आई विल डिडक्ट, द मार्क्स विल बी डिडक्टेड और नॉट?
यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड दीज टर्म्स एक्चुअली। एग्जेम्पशन के लिए चीज क्या है, आपका ना इंक्लूड ही नहीं करना, इट विल नॉट फॉर्म पार्ट ऑफ टोटल इनकम। ठीक है, नॉन टैक्सेबल क्या है वो आपको लिखना पड़ेगा, इट इज नॉट टैक्सेबल, इट इज नॉट एग्जेम्पशन, आपके सेक्शन 10 में लिखे हुए हैं। ठीक है, वो चीज आपकी एग्जेम्प्ट होगी, फर्स्ट हैंड में टैक्सेबल, बट उसके एग्जेम्पशंस दे दिए हैं, वो फर्स्ट हैंड पे टैक्सेबल नहीं है, तो देयर इज नो क्वेश्चन ऑफ एग्जेम्पशन। समझ गए?
अब जैसे लाइक इन अ रेजिडेंशियल स्टेटस, आई एम सेइंग जैसे नॉन रेजिडेंट के केस में, if income is receiving and accrue arising outside India, so you will say it is not taxable. You can't say it's exempt, because exemption is not given by the virtue of the any other provision. It's not taxable because income which is taxable in case of non-resident, it's only income received or deemed to received or accrue arise or deemed to accrue arise in India. So the outside India income is not at all taxable. You can't mention that it is exempt under.
Agriculture income is exempt, but I wrote agriculture income is not taxable, so it will deduct marks or not?
अब डिपेंडिंग ऑन, अगर कोई नॉन रेजिडेंट है, ठीक है, उसकी एग्रीकल्चर इनकम इंडिया से राइज हो रही है, ठीक है, वो टैक्सेबल तो है, बट वहाँ पे एग्जेम्पशन है। आपकी इंडियन
Okay.
इनकम होगी, डीम्ड टू accrue arise in India होगी एग्रीकल्चर इनकम, बट एग्जम्पशन इज प्रोवाइडेड इन रिस्पेक्ट ऑफ दैट एग्रीकल्चर इनकम. ठीक है, नॉन रेजिडेंट के केस में आप ऐसे लिखोगे. रेजिडेंट के केस में एवरीथिंग इज टैक्सेबल, तो यू हैव टू से कि दिस एग्रीकल्चर इनकम इज एग्जम्प्ट अंडर सेक्शन 10(1). ठीक है.
Okay. Now in situation 4, Mr. Sushant is an Indian citizen residing in Canada. He came in India for 129 days during the previous year, and earlier previous year the information is given which is like the situation 3 only. Only difference is earlier he was a person of Indian origin, now he is an Indian citizen. So just tell me, student, is there any going to be any change just because of this Indian citizen, or your answer will be the same as in situation 3?
Non-resident.
Non-resident?
Same. Now you are answering situation 4 or you are answering situation 3, keeping in mind that instead of his person of Indian origin, he is an Indian citizen. You have to answer for situation 3, modifying the situation of person of Indian origin with the Indian citizen. Please answer on that basis. That's your query?
He is an Indian citizen. Just forget about the person of Indian origin. Now he is an Indian citizen. So would the answer, earlier your answer was RNOR. So in this case also he would be RNOR, or will it go under a change?
No
RNOR.
change.
It will be
RNOR.
RNOR because that provision is applicable to
RNOR.
both
Indian
person of
citizen और
Indian
Indian origin
origin.
दोनों के लिए applicable है.
Resident.
Yes, because in case of second exception, it is applicable to both Indian citizen or person of Indian origin. In earlier, in one, it was Indian citizen regarding the purpose of employment, but in case of second visiting India, it is for both Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin. So your answer will be the same. He would be resident, but not ordinary resident, because he is satisfied. His
total income does not
total
exceed
income
15 lakh.
Exceeding 15 lakh, and 120 plus 365 days condition is satisfied here.
Whereas in case of, if you see the employment condition and a member of a crew, there only Indian citizen is there. वहाँ पे person of Indian origin नहीं है. ठीक है, तो वो exception तभी लगेगा जब वो Indian citizen के बारे में if you are talking about. Here both the things are there in the second exception. Indian citizen भी हो सकता है और person of Indian origin भी हो सकता है. But you have to understand the total income.
मैम ये डीम्ड रेसिडेंट माना जाएगा मैम?
डीम्ड रेजिडेंट अब
देखते हैं. लेट्स सी द सिचुएशन में ना.
हाँ, ओसवानी, अगर वो रेजिडेंट एंड RNOR नॉर्मली प्रोविजंस में बन गया, देन यू डोंट नीड टू चेक कि वो डीम्ड रेजिडेंट है या नहीं है. फर्स्टली यू हैव टू आइडेंटिफाई अंडर सेक्शन 6(1) कि ही इज अ रेजिडेंट और नॉट. इफ ही इज बिकमिंग द नॉन रेजिडेंट, देन ओनली यू नीड टू चेक कि वेदर ही इज अ डीम्ड रेजिडेंट.
उसके साथ अदर कंडीशंस भी देखने हैं डीम्ड रेजिडेंट के लिए ना.
यस मैम.
अब सिचुएशन 4 में ओके, Indian citizen, everything is same. Now his income from Indian source is 14 lakh. Then what would be the answer? He is staying for 129 days in the current previous year. Then
same years of stay.
Same years of stay. He is an Indian citizen. He is visiting India, but his income from Indian sources is now 14 lakh. So what would be his residential status?
Non-resident
or non-resident?
Non-resident. Non-resident.
Okay, who is saying resident? Just raise your hand. The students who are saying ki he's a resident, raise your hand.
Nobody, I think everybody is clear now. That's good. Ojaswani, you want to say something?
मैम एक डाउट था.
मैम एक डाउट था मैम, इसमें रेसिडेंट नॉट ऑर्डिनरी रेसिडेंट लग रहा है मैम मुझे मैम.
Okay, Oswani, if you see, you have to see first in this case, because he is an Indian citizen residing in Canada, visiting India, everything is satisfied. You have to see now the total income, excluding the income from foreign sources, which is your Indian source income. If it is exceeding 15 lakh, then modified condition would be applicable. In this case, his Indian sources income is 14 lakhs only. So modified condition would not be applicable to him. So only the condition of 182 days would be applicable, and he is not fulfilling that condition.
Understand, Ojaswani?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So he would be non-resident in this case. Now he is non-resident, then Ashlisha was
Move to
asking
the
deemed resident concept. But in this case, it is not mentioned whether he is in that country where he is not liable to pay tax and all these things. So इस क्वेश्चन में there deemed resident का concept is not there. In
यहाँ पे
next
देखो कोई 15 लाख भी नहीं एक्सीड कर रहा,
हाँ
Yes, ma'am.
जाने की जरूरत ही नहीं है आपको.
ठीक है. Now in situation 5.
मैम एक डाउट था मेरे को.
हाँ
मैम एक ना मेरे को ये शिफ्टिंग आउट वाली डिफॉल्ट वाली वो है जो टैक्सेशन रिजीम है, तो मैम शिफ्टिंग आउट और ऑप्ट आउट का मतलब डिफरेंस क्या हो गया इन दोनों में? जैसे लिखा होता है ना शिफ्टिंग आउट द टैक्सेबल रिजीम 115 BAC, इस लाइन का मतलब
सेम चीज. These are both the same things.
मैं मतलब कि जो 115 BAC है वो ऑप्ट करना है क्या नहीं करना?
आउट हो रहे हैं आप उससे. आप डिफॉल्ट टैक्स रिजाइम में अगर आप कुछ नहीं लिखा तो डिफॉल्ट में यू आर गोइंग टू पे द टैक्स. लेकिन अगर ना उससे बाहर आना है तो यू हैव टू गिव एन डिक्लेरेशन, फिल दैट फॉर्म कि आपको शिफ्ट आउट कर रहा है, उससे आ रहा है बाहर और वो नॉर्मल प्रोविजंस में जाना चाह रहा है.
मैम अगर वहां लिखा हो ऑप्ट फॉर 115 BAC मतलब फिर इनको ऑप्ट करना है.
हाँ Ashlisha, last time normal provisions was your default, and if you want to pay under concessional tax regime, you have to opt for that. Now the situation is reverse. You have to pay tax under default tax under section 15 BAC, which is your default. It means कि if assessee is not choosing the option to come out of that regime, he has to pay tax under default tax regime. But if you don't want to pay under default tax regime, you are saying कि you have many exemptions, many deductions are there, deductions under chapter 6A are there, and tax liability is less under normal provisions. So you choose to opt out, to come out of this default tax regime and wants to pay under regular or normal provisions. Earlier, you have to opt for BAC. Now you have to opt out, or you have to choose shift out of the default tax regime under section 115 BAC.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Now, situation 5. It is same. Now in this case,
ma'am, can you explain the deemed resident concept once more, ma'am?
Okay. I'll just skip situation 5. Just move to the situation 6 first. Then see if we need to go to situation 5 again. Okay. Situation 6. Mr. Sushant is a citizen of country X residing in country X. During the current previous year, he is staying for 20 days only. His income from Indian sources is 17 lakh. He is not liable to tax in country X. So what would be his residential status?
Resident, deemed resident.
Resident, but not ordinary resident.
Students, raise your hand if you are saying resident, not deemed resident. I am saying if you are saying resident, then raise your hand. Resident, not deemed resident.
Listen the question carefully. What Dimple ma'am is asking you.
Resident means under section 6 subsection 1. It means you are not checking the deemed resident provisions. So nobody is raising the hand. So he is not a resident. Okay. Who is saying deemed resident? Now raise your hand. Who is saying deemed resident? Prerna?
Only Prerna is
Yes,
saying.
ma'am.
Any other kid?
Minaj? Okay, these two or any other also?
Anufa is also saying team resident. Okay. Any other?
Who thinks that Mr. Sushant would be a deemed resident?
टीवी अंपायर को बुलाया गया है.
बस स्क्रीनशॉट ले.
Ashok.
Ashok, mute yourself, please.
थर्ड अंपायर का फैसला आउट.
Ashok, mute yourself, please.
Okay, now I'll just ask this question from Meenaj because she has raised her hand for the first time I have seen. So, Meenaj, just tell me why Mr. Sushant is a deemed resident in this case.
Ma'am, because Mr. Sushant is a Indian citizen and his Indian income other than foreign sources is more than 15 lakhs, and plus he's not liable to tax in that country. That's why.
Meenaj, in this case,
read the question carefully. Read it.
Citizen of country X.
Ma'am, he's not liable to tax in country X now.
But Indian citizen is the condition.
first, for any
Okay,
provision to be applicable, you have to see the basic condition. This condition is applicable only if he is a Indian citizen. If he is not an Indian citizen, then there is no question of deemed resident.
Yes, ma'am.
So in this case, he would be non-resident.
Yes, ma'am.
Because 182 days, 60 plus 365, no condition is satisfied, so he would be non-resident, not a deemed resident, nothing. Now in situation 7, he is an Indian citizen residing in country X, period of stay 20 days, 17 lakhs is the Indian source income, not liable to tax in country X. So now, would he be a deemed resident?
Yes, ma'am. He is a
Yes,
deemed
deemed
resident.
resident.
ma'am.
Deemed resident and
Deemed resident?
RNOR.
Yes.
Okay. Now situation 8. He is a citizen of country X, but a person of Indian origin residing in country X. Similar, everything is same. Indian source income is 17 lakh, visiting for 20 days. He is a citizen of country X, but he's a citizen of country X, but a person of Indian origin. So whether he would be deemed resident or not?
Non-resident.
No, ma'am.
Non-resident.
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 Non-resident, because deemed resident is applicable for Indian citizen only. If he is a person of citizen of country X, he would not, the condition for deemed resident would not need to be checked. A person of Indian origin, this condition of deemed resident is not applicable on a person of Indian origin. You need to be a Indian citizen for the applicability of this provision. So I hope
we are able to clarify
and you able to
So any doubt relating to residential status, you can ask. And due to shortage of time, I think we have to close. If you have some other queries, we can take. We are happy to take other queries and relating to these provisions, what we have discussed already. Shreya, what do you want to ask?
Ma'am, I want to ask, can we get this PDF of these situations and MCQs?
Sure, Shreya. We will upload this PDF on the BoS knowledge portal after the session.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Ojaswani?
Yes, ma'am.
You ask your query.
Yes, ma'am. I have doubt, ma'am. Please explain the additional condition. Ma'am, suppose we have greater than 730 days in immediately 7 preceding years.
Okay.
What are these two conditions? आपने एक बताई, दूसरी क्या होती है?
Ma'am, resident for ma'am greater than 2 years out of 10 immediately preceding previous year.
ठीक है. So what is your doubt in it?
Ma'am, ma'am, I have doubt on this resident or not ordinary resident.
Dimple, you explain.
Okay. So in this case, actually the condition is same. You just see the in the reverse position. If you are seeing the condition for being an ROR, it means a person to be a resident and ordinary resident. You have to see if he is staying for 730 days or more in India, plus he is resident in 2 out of 10 immediately preceding previous years, then he would be resident and ordinary resident. अब suppose this situation also only I have to tell to being an RNOR. What would I say? I just reverse the condition. It's 729 days or less. Or since it's a resident in 2 out of 10, now it's non-resident in 9 out of 10 years. यहाँ पे you have to fulfill both the conditions to be an ROR. यहाँ पे anyone.
Okay, ma'am.
So anything you can write actually. अगर आप
Both are
ROR determine करने जा रहे हो तो accordingly you have to mention. अगर आप लिख रहे हो the person is ROR since he satisfies both the conditions. ठीक है, RNOR लिख रहे हो तो ये conditions लिख के then you have to see. Since one of the condition is being satisfied, he would be RNOR. Got it?
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Right. Hriday, you ask.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Ma'am, when does in that resident status 182 days and the rule of 60 days will be applicable?
Rule of 60 days and what?
And 182 days, when to apply, how to apply, ma'am? If they both satisfy, means.
If both
anyone if also satisfied, suppose 182 days satisfy कर रहे हैं, तो he will be a
There are
resident.
certain exceptions, no, ma'am, in 182 days.
हाँ 182 डेज के लिए एक्सेप्शन है। अगर आपका देखो 2 कंडीशंस हैं, either one if he is satisfied 60 plus 360 or 182 days he will be qualify as a resident, but एक exceptions दिए हुए हैं जहाँ पे डिम्पल already explained you कि 2 situations are there. If a person of India, if an Indian citizen who left India for the purpose of employment or as a member of a crew, तो वहां पे आपको 60 वाली कंडीशन ही देखोगे। 182 लग गई तो आपको 60 plus 365 में जाने की जरूरत ही नहीं है। 182 is first ही आप, if you are not following with the 182 days condition, so how you can follow with 60 days, right? तो वहां पे आपको you have to go to second condition. This is first exception. Then the second exception is that if a person of Indian origin or an Indian citizen, ठीक है, who comes on a visit to India during the previous year, then plus if it's mentioned कि is total income excluding the
income from
foreign sources exceeds 15 lakh, तो वहां पे जो 60 वाली है ना 182, तो वहां पे 60 days वाली condition is replaced with 120 days condition, because he is not satisfied 182 days condition if he is not satisfied, ठीक है, but he is in India for 120 days but less than 182 days, समझ गए? Then that 60 days words, that 60 days period will be replaced with this 120 days. Got it? These are the 2 exceptions. वो आपको देखना पड़ेगा कि क्या सिचुएशन दी हुई है, किस तरीके से इंफॉर्मेशन गिवन है। हृदय, आर यू क्लियर विद द डाउट?
Hriday, it is clear or you want you have some other doubt also?
Yes, clear.
Aslisha, please raise your question.
मैम मेरे को ना पीजीपी का पूछना था मैम, कुछ मतलब बता दो प्रोविजन अच्छे से थोड़ी सी लर्न हो जाए इजीली पीजीपीपी की।
अश्लीषा, प्रोविजन लर्न होने के लिए फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड द प्रोविजन। अगर लर्न होने की बात करें तो प्रोफॉर्मा इज ऑलरेडी गिवन इन स्टडी मटेरियल, लेट अस रिकैप्चुलेट इज देयर, बट व्हेन यू रीड द प्रोविजन ना ट्राई टू मेक इट इन द नोट्स
बनाओ आप एक बार ना, ट्राई टू मेक योर ओन
नोट्स। अब
मैम नोट्स बनाए हुए हैं प्रॉपर मैम, बट प्रोविजन कहीं ना कहीं पीजीपीपी की काफी टफ लग रही है बहुत ज्यादा। हाँ जी मैम।
Are you able to solve the questions given the study mat or not?
यस मैम करती हूँ सॉल्व।
नहीं कर पा रहे हो आप?
मैम उसमें बस मैं प्रोविजन भूल जाती हूँ जब करने लगती हूँ, प्रॉपर फॉर्मेट वगैरह सब कुछ बनाया हुआ
पीजीपी
फॉर्मेट।
आपको इतना डिफिकल्ट लग रहा है ना, तो आपको उसको ज्यादा टाइम गिव मोर टाइम। एक बार समझे आप, आपने क्वेश्चन पढ़ा, आप प्रोविजन भूल गए, ठीक है, उसको दोबारा से पढ़ो जाके। ये प्रैक्टिस अगर आप 2-3 टाइम्स करोगे ना, देन यू विल अंडरस्टैंड द प्रोविजन, फिर आप नहीं भूलोगे। यही प्रैक्टिस करनी पड़ेगी। सी, प्रैक्टिस मेक्स अ मैन परफेक्ट, राइट? यू हैव टू प्रैक्टिस अ लॉट। पीजीपीपी नहीं समझ रहा, उसको ज्यादा एफर्ट्स दो। आपको कैपिटल गेन सब उसमें जरूरत नहीं है आपको देने की, रेजिडेंशियल समझ में उसमें इतना एफर्ट देने की जरूरत नहीं है। पीजीपीपी में फिर देन आप क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करो। नहीं सॉल्व कर पा रहे हो, आप वहीं पे लिख लो कि मैं ये प्रोविजन में गलती की हूँ, अगेन विजिट दैट प्रोविजन एंड अंडरस्टैंड इट, ठीक है?
ओके, थैंक यू सो मच मैम।
या वारुणी, यू वांट टू आस्क?
Ma'am, can we get the question?
Your voice is very low, Varuni. Please a bit louder. Please speak bit louder.
Ma'am, can we get question plus answer in BoS portal, ma'am, about this question?
You are asking notes. Yeah, we will upload the notes. Is it?
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. And Holly, you want to ask?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, salary earned in USA but credited to Indian bank account, is it taxable to non-resident and resident but not ordinary resident?
You are saying salary from abroad but credited in an Indian bank account, मतलब bank account in India.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, it will be taxable because it's received in India.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, Nikhil, please. Now we are going to take one or two more queries. We have to wind up the session.
हम जैसे हम लोग एग्जाम में रेसिडेंट एंड ऑर्डिनरी रेसिडेंट को हम लोग आर बट ओ आर लिखेंगे तो चलेगा कि
नहीं? You have to write the full form, resident but not ordinary resident or resident or and ordinary resident.
एक बार अगर विद इन ब्रैकेट्स इफ यू आर राइटिंग एट द फर्स्ट स्टेज ROR RNOR पूरा कंप्लीट लिखा फुल फॉर्म, फिर आपने ROR RNOR कर, तो आई थिंक साइमल्टेनियसली दे कैन यूज द वर्ड देन ROR।
हां, मतलब फर्स्ट टाइम यू हैव टू एक्सप्लेन,
एटलीस्ट वंस यू हैव टू एक्सप्लेन। डायरेक्टली आप ROR RNOR नहीं लिख सकते, ठीक है?
ओके मैम, थैंक यू मैम।
अतानु?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ma'am, my problem is I attempt previous MTP, their income tax 2 hour itself. So how can I complete within a time?
First of all,
previous RTP means MTP series 1 you are saying?
Yes, yes, sorry, MTBs, yes.
Okay. So you are not able to complete it in 3 hours time, right?
No, so I have a complete GST person not fulfill within time. Income tax itself, it takes time 2 hours.
See, आपके पास अभी कितना टाइम है? You have 15 minutes reading time in examination. So utilize
Yes.
that reading time to read the question फटाफट से question paper फटाफट immediately, right? Then you
Okay.
Make a choice कि which question you are going to choose. Do. First is compulsory, you don't have any choice, but remaining other 3 में you have a choice. So select that, do that choice portion during that 15 minutes time. Then proceed
Okay.
with the question then. इसमें क्या है, आपको पास अभी आपके पास 90 मिनट्स है, राइट?
Yeah.
90 मिनट्स यू हैव फॉर बोथ जीएसटी एंड
Income
इनकम। इसके लिए एमसीक्यू सेक्शन के लिए उसमें आप ट्राई करो, एमसीक्यू सेक्शन में आप 20 मिनट्स टाइम दो, ठीक है? लेकिन हरी भरी में डोंट डू रॉन्ग ऑप्शंस, क्योंकि वहां पे इफ यू गो रॉन्ग यू विल गेट नथिंग, राइट? सो ट्राई टू डू इन 20 मिनट्स 25 मिनट्स। इतना टाइम रखो कि आप एक टाइम में रिविजिट कर सको उन एमसीक्यू सेक्शन को अगेन, इतना टाइम रखो अपने पास, ठीक है?
Okay, ma'am.
Then 20
Thank you, ma'am.
25 minutes, the remaining time descriptive will take more time, because here you are going to have to give the reasoning, you have to substantiate your answer, you have to write the things. वहां पे टाइम ज्यादा रखना है। उसमें भी आप ट्राई करो, आपने अगर 20 मिनट्स एमसीक्यू को दिए, कंपलसरी क्वेश्चन में 25 मिनट्स लग गया, देन 30 मिनट्स का टाइम आपके पास है। 30 मिनट्स में आपको कितने क्वेश्चंस करने हैं? 30 मिनट्स पूरा मत लगाना, 10 मिनट्स लगाना। उसमें 10 मिनट्स आप रिविजनरी टाइम रखो, ऐसे अलोकेट पहले से करके रखो। अब आप MTP 1 एक बार कर चुके हो, फिर से करके देखना और इसी टाइम स्टैंडर्ड के साथ ट्राई करना।
you need to boost your speed up, because उसके लिए आपको क्वेश्चंस प्रैक्टिस, जितने ज्यादा क्वेश्चंस आप करेंगे प्रैक्टिस, then you are able to manage the paper in 3 hours.
This is the way you have to manage the
Manage the
time, but
time.
उसके लिए आपको प्रैक्टिस करनी
प्रैक्टिस करनी पड़ेगी
तो आप
definitely.
क्वेश्चंस जब भी आप RTP MTP या फिर अपनी बुक स्टडी मटेरियल से कर रहे हो, तो सॉल्व देम, राइट देम विदाउट सीइंग देयर आंसर, डोंट रीड इट, डू
Okay,
दिस
ma'am.
प्रैक्टिस ट्वाइस और थ्राइस। तो आपको क्या ना, फटाफट आपकी स्पीड अप होगी, देन यू विल एबल टू मैनेज द टाइम इन द एग्जामिनेशन, राइट?
Okay, ma'am.
Ma'am, one
Thank you,
question
ma'am.
is there.
मैम वो एमसीक्यू और केस सिनेरियो बुकलेट जो दिया है बीओएस पोर्टल पे, वो ओल्ड स्कीम का है, तो फिर वो अभी एप्लीकेबल है कि नहीं May 24 के लिए?
Shreya, जो MCQs and case scenarios है, that is already there in your BOS knowledge portal. If you see ना, after login ना, there is a option of MCQ paper practice. So अभी आप जो questions और MCQs और case scenario you are practicing, practice from that.
दो अपलोडेड
हाँ।
एमसीक्यू पोर्टल पे जो है ना, वो प्रैक्टिस करो। ओल्ड वन आर नॉट अपडेटेड, वो पुराने वाले आपका असेसमेंट या ओल्ड प्रोविजंस के बेस्ड पे है, तो ट्राई टू डू दोस गिवन इन द
MCQ
एमसीक्यू पोर्टल,
portal.
ठीक है?
मैम
Ma'am,
वो
in
ओल्ड वाला
examination,
न्यू वाला कुछ नहीं है,
हाँ जी,
ओल्ड वाले ही है, मतलब पुराने स्कीम में जो थे वही है एमसीक्यूज, तो
नहीं,
फिर अभी
BOS knowledge portal में if you log in ना, वहाँ पर there is a option of MCQ paper practice.
ओके ओके
वहाँ पे you will get MCQs and case scenario for all the subject, not for income tax, for all the subjects you will get the MCQs and paper case scenarios.
दो
Updated ones.
ठीक है? आपको लगेगा सिमिलर है, बट दीज आर द अपडेटेड क्वेश्चंस, राइट? यहाँ पे अमेंडमेंट्स मैटर्स अ लॉट। सो फाइनेंस एक्ट चेंज हो रहा है, आपका असेसमेंट ईयर चेंज हो रहा है, तो दोस थिंग्स आर कीप्ड इन माइंड व्हाइल डूइंग दिस, अपलोडिंग दिस ऑन एमसीक्यू पोर्टल, ठीक है?
ओके मैम, थैंक यू।
ma'am,
Radhika,
one doubt.
बांसरी पटेल, you want to raise?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, in examination, MCQs are provided before 15 minutes or after 15 minutes?
Bansi, just see, as far as I remember, 15 minutes reading time is not there for MCQs. It's for descriptive only. So you will get your descriptive paper before 15 minutes. You had a time of 15 minutes for reading the descriptive portion. Then after on 2 o'clock only, you will get your MCQ booklet, question paper, as well as your answer sheets.
ठीक है, बट प्लीज डू विजिट द
Examination
एग्जामिनेशन
guidelines.
डिपार्टमेंट, बिकॉज एग्जामिनेशन डिपार्टमेंट will give the instructions how to follow with the examination, so please do visit that. Shreya? Shreya?
Lekhna, mute yourself.
Do it fast, students. Now we are going to wind up, please. Shreya, you want to ask? Radhika?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, if we provide any assumptions through notes, would they consider if there is any difference in the answer, ma'am?
Yes, Radhika, for MCQ, definitely you can't provide any notes or any assumptions. Yeah, but for descriptive, when there is a possible of two assumptions, then it's necessary to write the assumption or your views specifically in the answer sheet. Definitely it will be considered.
Thank you, ma'am.
So I think we are hoping that we are able to, clarify your doubts. We have resolved all your queries. So with this practice, please students try to revise all the concepts thoroughly and practice more to get the good scores. And you are really wonderful students. We are really very happy, to interact with you, such a good audience, which are very sincere. We are
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am,
Thank you
one
so
more
much.
doubt. मैम बस एक डाउट था मेरा.
Yes, Ashlisha.
मैम मैं ना मतलब सब कुछ कर लेती हूँ बट मैम कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं आता, नेगेटिविटी बहुत आने लग जाती है. सब कुछ आते हुए भी कई बार क्लास लिखते सब कुछ आता है बट कुछ टाइम तो ये लगता है कुछ भी नहीं आता. ऐसे क्यों होता रहता है?
अश्लीषा, ये नर्वस जब तक आपके एग्जाम होंगे ये नर्वसनेस रहेगी, बट डोंट लूज होप. ट्राई टू बी बहुत कॉन्फिडेंट. डोंट थिंक कि आपको कुछ नहीं आता जस्ट बिकॉज यू आर नॉट एबल टू अटेम्प्ट एनी क्वेश्चन और आपने कुछ ट्राई किया सब क्वेश्चंस एंड यू आर नॉट एबल टू गेट द आंसर. दैट डजंट मीन कि आपको कुछ नहीं आता. यू हैव टू जस्ट गिव एम्फेसिस कि हाँ मुझे और मेहनत करनी है. आई हैव टू लर्न मोर एंड मोर एंड मोर. So don't lose hope. Don't feel underconfident. You are much more confident. And just because like this, if you study in group, then definitely it will help you to boost your confidence and to do much better in your exam.
If you have done it, prepared, then you are definitely come out with a good marks. So don't worry about it. Do
Thank you so much, ma'am.
breathing
pressure,
exercises also to keep you, happy,
you're happy.
calm, and all these things. Engage in some other activity. ऐसा नहीं सिर्फ study करनी है. Don't over, don't over pressure नहीं लेना है आपको. Right? You have to be patiently. You have to handle the subject. Definitely, you will get a good score. Don't worry about it. If you have prepared well, then आपका result तो अच्छा आएगा ही आएगा. Why are
Okay,
you?
thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah.
मैम जीएसटी का सेशन अलग से होगा क्या?
Yeah, GST का सेशन अलग से होगा. It is tomorrow. Okay. Thank you so much. We wish you a very all the best to you for your examinations.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you
Thank you,
for
ma'am.
making this session so interactive, and we are also so much happy to have you all this in this platform, and we are very happy if we are able to solve your query and you will get some knowledge from us. And if you have any other query also, you can raise in your mobile app, ask your query for this paper 3, section A, income tax law. So for the remaining, best of luck. We will meet you in the next month also for the next session. So just be ready with your queries for that
Till
session.
that time, revise everything. Okay?
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am.
Wish
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
All the best, students.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.